Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Teacup for One presidential movie marathon. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. The first week we talked about The Butler, specifically The Butler as seen by Lee Daniels. Yes, that's right. Lee Daniels is The Butler. The following week we examined, that movie examined the question like how did things change and how did things stay the same over the course of many decades as seen through the eyes of the White House help. And then the next week we asked the question with Aaron Sorkin, can a president fall in love with, I was going to say All the President's Men. That's a totally different movie. With the American president and Annette Bening. We love her. And how could anyone, whether it be the president or Julianne Moore, not fall in love with Annette Bening? I ask you that question. And then the week after that, what was the question last week? Oh, the question was, why didn't you burn the tapes, Dick? Last week was all about Frost Nixon. But tonight's question is a little bit more loaded. Tonight's question is, what's the deal with JFK? Tonight, welcome everybody to Kennedy Night. Tonight we're talking about John F. Kennedy and all the conspiracies and everything. And so, there's just so much. It's such a loaded both presidency as well as unaliving of JFK that we couldn't just do it justice with one movie. So tonight we're talking about two. We are talking about Oliver Stone's JFK, as well as Mark Waters's The House of Yes. JFK is a delightful 3-hour romp, or 3.5 hours if you are blessed enough to watch the director's cut, diving into the big conspiracy theory about whether or not Lee Harvey Oswald actually pulled the trigger for unaliving JFK. I'm going to use TikTok speak because, YouTube and whatever. We all know what I mean when I say unaliving. And then we're talking about The House of Yes, which kind of has nothing to do with JFK, but at the same time, everything to do with JFK, and also everything to do with twincest. So I'm excited to dive into all of these topics with you this evening. And let's see who we're going to dive into these topics with. Let's start with Ben. Look, it's Ben, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hi, Ben.
Hi, I'm glad to be here tonight, Matt. This was a real doozy of a double feature.
It sure was. I'm excited to have you because people watching probably don't know this. Well, they may know that we went to school together. They don't know that in my first year, I made my film studies class watch The House of Yes, but because you were a year ahead of me, you didn't have that honor.
That's correct. Yeah. We were in the same production stream year, and then we had some film theory courses where I was in a separate year. And yes, House of Yes, I was so sad because you told me, I remember when we were in undergrad, all about this movie, and I mixed it up with The House of Mirth, which is another thing. It was so I had, kind of an idea ping-ponging in my head of like what it was, but it kept getting kind of like misconstrued and muddled through the years. And then once you said, we're doing President's Month, this is, an important film to me, Ben. This is the one I showed my film studies class. I said, well, now, it might be, 15 years later, but let's do it. Let's watch it.
You finally watched it. I'm so glad. Yeah. So Ben, opening question for today. What, JFK aside, what is your favorite conspiracy theory? Not necessarily whether you believe it or not, but just what conspiracy theory do you find interesting?
That's a great question. See, the thing about conspiracy theory is that I think the reason that we love them in general is that, we as people crave narrative. We love stories. So what's my favorite conspiracy theory? What about, I'm trying to kind of tie it to like Disney World, because I'm sure there's some good Disney World ones.
There's so many.
And you could probably speak to these. So I know that there's a whole underground like society of, that's not the right phrase. There's like the secret club. What's that club called?
Club 33?
Yeah. What are some Club 33 conspiracies, Matt?
There aren't any.
There's none?
There might be. It's mostly just that you have to spend a lot of money to become a member.
Oh, okay. That's kind of, what about the thing that you're not allowed to die in a Disney park? Is that true? Conspiracy?
Well, you know who might know? Jeanette might know.
I don't know that it's a rule, but I do know that if you are not looking great, they try to get you off grounds to a hospital. Whether that's for your good or for their liability insurance, who knows?
I think it would be so difficult. Maybe Disneyland, I could believe it.
Disneyland is the one that's actually about. Yeah.
I don't see that being true about Disney World just because of
Disney World has a hospital on grounds. So
Yeah.
I would think. No, but that is a rumor / conspiracy theory.
There we go. I'm diving
Disneyland?
in, and I've seen with my own eyes underground in Disney World because I went as
The
a high school.
utilidors,
We got to go through the corridors as a when we were in jazz band in high school. They invited us, and
nice.
and they said if we catch you taking one picture, we're gonna kill you. So we didn't take any pictures, but it was
There's a reason it's not a conspiracy theory. It's because it's true.
That's the
They'll
thing.
just straight up
I do love the Paul McCartney's Dead one too. That's a lot of fun.
Ooh, I haven't heard
that. Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one.
That's
classic.
Fun. That's fun. Jeanette, what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
I think mine's pretty simple. I think mine's always been that we didn't actually land on the moon.
That's
even more so that it was Stanley Kubrick who actually directed it, because either one of those truths is fine by me. If Stanley Kubrick directed the moon landing, cool. If we went to the moon, cool. Like, I'm happy with either of those outcomes.
I mean, 2001 Space Odyssey, the effects are a little too good.
That's what people say. So, yeah, I would be happy. Have either of you seen The Pentaverate with Michael Myers?
I forgot so much of what happens in it. But...
Oh my God, I love that. I loved it so much. And the moon landing stuff was so great.
I have no idea what this is. I will.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. If you like Michael Myers stuff, if you don't, you won't be able to stand it.
You mean like Michael Myers? Like slashy?
Unfortunately, Mike Myers. I am saying Michael Myers, and it is Mike Myers. I always do that.
Yeah. All right, let's bring in our next guest for tonight. It's Anna, everybody.
Hi.
Mrs. X.
It's Mrs. X.
Yeah.
I'm loving these names. Back and to the Left. Which movie?
I gotta make a better name. I don't know how to change it while we're here.
No, because you got something to plug. You got something to plug. That's fair. I'm the Donut King of Pennsylvania. I was proud of that one.
As you should be.
Thank you. Anna, what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Does it count if I was proven correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one that I held for 9 years and was then confirmed. So back in the fall of 2015, you might remember the James Bond movie Spectre came out.
Yes.
And had the Sam Smith theme song, which is not among the best of the James Bond theme songs. I think most people agree with that. It's not the worst. It's not the best. At the time, my thinking was, why didn't Lana Del Rey do the theme song? She was coming off a run of doing theme songs for like a bunch of movies. I think she suits the Bond vibe very well. It just kind of felt like a natural fit. And then her album that year, Honeymoon, there's a song on that album, 24, that sounds like a Bond theme. It's got the horns. It's got like lyrics about like, being too late to save people, da-da-da-da-da. It's very Bondian. And so I was like, this, because they also have a history where they will get artists to record Bond themes, like multiple, and then just choose their favorite. But like there are like discarded Bond themes out there. Oh, and my back and to the left is that Spectre is the 24th Bond movie, so it would make sense for the song to be 24. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, I was like, I just think this is the case. I think this is what happened. They got her to record a song for it. They didn't go with it. They went with Sam Smith. She put it on her album anyway. And then earlier this year, someone asked her if she'd ever do a Bond theme. And she was like, I did.
Confirmed.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was right.
Quite
a good lesson. I'm often right. It just takes time to prove.
I love that. I need to go listen.
It's a great song too. It's like one of my favorites off that album. And I think it would have been a better theme than Writings on the Wall. But that's for another
Writings on the Wall.
Do we know what some of the other rejected Bond themes are? Like, have they also been released in the way that one was?
There was a Radiohead one.
Yeah. That's a big one. I really like the Katie Lang one, which ended up on the end credits of Tomorrow Never Dies, because they went with the Cheryl Cole one. But yeah, Surrender is a good one. And I think there's been a lot more over the years.
Live and Let Die was used by the dead Paul McCartney.
And apparently Gangnam Style is a rejected Bond theme. You know, no, let's verify that. Look, it's Vince, everybody.
There he is.
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? Donald Sutherland told me this in a bar once, so it's got to be true, right?
Is your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, my favorite
Did he
conspiracy
call you Bubba?
theory. Huh?
Did he call you
Bubba?
Bubba like he calls Kevin Costner in that scene?
You know what? I wish he did. But no, favorite conspiracy theory. German base in Antarctica is pretty good. You know, the whole Admiral Byrd thing. You know, he said he went down there in the wake of World War II and saw something that he couldn't report, but apparently they unloaded some serious military hardware down in Antarctica. Apparently. Oh, and Paul is dead. I love that one. Has anyone mentioned that?
Yeah. Ben mentioned that.
Perfect. Oh, you've got great taste. I love that one.
It's a fun one.
I've not heard this Antarctica theory. I have heard that aliens are there. I've heard the aliens.
You know what? It's possible that they teamed up with the Germans afterwards. So who knows?
That could be it. That could be it.
I like the Nazis in Argentina one. That's a good one.
I mean,
Yes.
that's not even a theory. That's just.
I guess so. It's technically proven, but I guess that there's like still not that they're just still there.
Yeah.
It's like a compound.
It
I mean,
was
I'm sure some of them are still into the ideas.
Oh yeah, you've got entire cities in the mountains of Argentina called like Neo Bavaria and stuff, and it looks like an old style Bavarian town,
like an Epcot.
Maybe.
Yeah, like really bad Epcot.
Really bad Epcot.
I'm just relieved none of us said Pizzagate.
I think that one's been proven wrong. I think it doesn't count if it's been proven wrong.
I'm relieved.
We call that a reverse Lana Del Rey.
I need to know about Pizzagate.
Oh, is that what that is? No, I'm just...
Don't worry about it, Matt. I'll tell you later.
If you don't know, you don't need to know.
You don't need to know.
Okay, I don't need to know.
Don't bother with the internet.
Okay.
I love your innocent brain, Matthew. It's delightful.
Is it about pizza?
Not quite.
You really don't know?
No.
Oh yeah, it was a hilarious one.
Don't worry.
I guess.
Matt, what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
My favorite is Walt Disney's Frozen Head.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I did a whole video about it. I invite people to go watch it. But yeah, I mean, it's not frozen, but it's fun to imagine that it is. It's also fun to imagine, like, okay, well, if it is, like, what do you want to get out of that, everybody?
Yeah.
What do you think he's going to do?
It's in Antarctica with the Nazis.
Matt, what do you think about the extension of that theory that Disney only made the film Frozen so that when people Google Disney Frozen, that film comes up instead of the conspiracy theory?
I would be in favor of that because it would explain why they picked such an awful title for that movie. So
they could have named it anything.
They could have. Well, I was going to say they could have named it the Snow Queen, but they bastardized the source material. So I'm glad they didn't call it the Snow Queen because
the sequel being
a better story than
Frozen 2 as well, Matt. Is it's kind of like he's saying, "I'm Frozen 2. Don't forget about me. I'm on Frozen."
Frozen also, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there it is. Okay, let's talk about JFK. Here we go. So for tonight, as I said, it's a double bill. Let's start by talking about JFK, the movie, and then we'll ease our way into the House of Yes. So just quick show of hands. Had anyone seen JFK before this week's assignment? Oh, wow. A bunch of you.
I'm surprised Vince hadn't. Because it feels like a Vince movie to me.
Yeah, look, all my life, people have been telling me to watch JFK, and I've always said I'll get around to it. I've always been intimidated by the 3-hour runtime, but it's so silly, you can just take it in parts. It's fine. And oh my God, I loved every second of it. Everyone who's ever recommended this film to me has been 100% correct.
I watched it at 1.5 speed, so there we go. For the first
bullets moved even faster.
It but yeah, let's start with Anna. So Anna, we programmed this at your recommendation, so thank you because I'm glad I finally got to watch it. But yes, tell me about your history with this movie. Like, what's the appeal? How'd you discover it? All the fun.
So I actually only first watched it for the first time, I think a couple years ago. But again, it's like I like Oliver Stone. I think he's insane, and he makes 3-hour movies, and he just he goes deep on stuff. I don't know. I think he's great. I love what he's obsessed with, which is very like the downfall of like American idealism. And yeah, I just watched this. I loved it. I think it's like just very fun. I was really glad when you agreed to do it because I was like, I just think this is such a good like presidential movie, even though it's not as much about JFK as like the aftermath. But I just think it's fun, even though it's like 3 hours long. I think it kind of like it has a pace to it that I think is really electrifying. And yeah, I love conspiracy movies and I love courtroom dramas. So it kind of is the best of both worlds for me. Yeah, I just think it's a blast.
Yeah, I will say, out of all the president movies we watched so far, I feel like this one gave the most concise explanation about what was happening politically and what the president did politically. And it did that without us ever actually seeing him, just by merit of what this movie is about. So just coming off of the other films we watched, I thought that was cool. Yeah. Ben, how about you? How'd you discover this movie?
Well, I had heard about it for a long time and was similarly intimidated by it. I'm not a huge history buff, although I feel like history is really important, and I like learning about stuff. But it's just something that doesn't always come naturally for me to seek out. Like, oh, let me learn about JFK. And so for a long time, I thought this was a movie where Kevin Costner was going to portray JFK. I didn't know what it was. I love that it's a film that he's not, depicted by an actor in. Similarly, when we get to House of Yes, I love that you picked 2 movies for Kennedy night where nobody's playing JFK. It's like JFK is kind of an idea, right? He almost represents more than his, his physical self. So I finally watched this movie, I want to say around 2016. And I remember vividly watching it, although I didn't remember much of the content because I was hopped up on cough medication. I had a really bad cold. So I was taking a lot of like cough suppressants and things. Okay. And I watched it in this like dizzying haze. And the movie itself is very dizzying.
I was going to say, Oliver Stone already has this mildly out of his mind tone to most things.
So I was just kind of like, wow. And as soon as it was done, I had to walk down a few blocks to get a sleep study conducted. So I had a bunch of electrodes attached to my head, and I had just watched JFK, and I had all this like medication, and I was just like, this movie just represented this like almost incomprehensible daze to me for a long time, even though I had watched the whole thing. So I hadn't revisited it until it was recommended that we do it for the show. Both times I've seen the director's cut. So I've seen the 3.5 hour long version. And like Anna, I just feel like it's an extraordinary piece of filmmaking. I just think that the editing, the amount of people in it, every person is in it, which we'll get to. But the scope of the cast, the way that there's no real traditional scenes in it, it's almost just this like layer upon layer upon layer of archival and reenactment and black and white and color. And it just is so propulsive to me that even though, I have difficulty, honestly, sometimes retaining like, who's this person and how are they connected to this person? I just love getting caught up in the whirlwind of it. And I think that it really feels like, even though Oliver Stone definitely has made similar films and he's made films about presidents, that it kind of stands on its own. I think the closest thing that we might have to a recent film that feels like it might be Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I kept thinking it's spelled Oppenheimer-y.
Yeah, with the color in black and white and the kind of like no traditional, beginning of scene, ending of scene. It's like a delicious, rich cake with all sorts of layers. So that was my introduction to JFK and my revisitation of it now.
Nice. Yeah, your story about the cough medicine reminds me of when I had COVID and I watched All the President's Men and then Dick. It was my Nixon. I was in my Nixon era whilst I had that virus. It was, yeah.
You had watched Oliver Stone's Nixon.
I should have watched Oliver Stone's Nixon. I know. Should have.
That would be a hell of a movie to watch in a like fevery state. Like,
I don't doubt it. Except I don't know if I could take another Nixon impersonation anytime soon after John Cusack and then whoever it was last week, Frank. Yeah.
Frank Langella.
Whoever that guy was.
Just what a beautiful, deep, resonant voice, which is just not very Nixon-y, but epic. Jeanette, how'd you discover this movie?
This was one of those ones we either had on VHS or it was on TV. I doubt it was on TV. It's 3 hours long, so we must have had it on VHS. But it was just on, and I watched it like bits and pieces as a kid, like over time. Like when I sat down to watch it this time, I realized I'd never actually seen the entire movie, but I'd seen, I don't know, 7/8 of it. Like I'd seen the majority of the film at different points in time out of order. So, and one thing for some reason I didn't remember was Sissy Spacek being in it, who I'm like upset. I love Sissy Spacek so much. If we ever have an excuse to watch Coal Miner's Daughter, I'll die because I'm obsessed with that movie. But yeah, so I watched it this time. It was nice to watch it in one fluid, sweep. I didn't notice if the director's cut was even there until I'd already finished watching it, and I was like, well, not gonna go search for the 24 minutes I didn't see. So I'll have to get from y'all what is taken out, I guess, like for the regular cut.
I feel like it's 20 more minutes of them speculating why Oswald spoke Russian.
Oh, okay. Well, that's enough of that. I got plenty of that. I enjoyed it. I liked it, I think, more than I had even expected to. Just because I thought, oh, there'll be some really exciting parts and then it'll be a little droll in between. But it was like everybody here has said, it's just kind of keeps going. It doesn't give you a chance to like stop and get bored. It just keeps rolling and rolling. And I like the franticness, like it picks up. It gets like exponential towards the end and you start to feel frantic with him. And I doubt I'd ever picked up on that before. So that was really fun.
Nice. Now, Vince, let's put in our 2 cents as the only first timers with this film. What's your first impression?
You know what? Going in, I thought I was going to enjoy it, and I was right. It lived up to my expectations. The editing really struck me. The like, I guess I should have come to expect it from an Oliver Stone film, but like, I was watching it with my dad, and he turns to me. He's like, "This feels like a documentary almost." And there are parts of it where, like, especially when Donald Sutherland's explaining how the world works, if the director's cut has 24 minutes of that, I would gladly watch that. And it was just so perfect. They picked the perfect guy, the perfect voice. He spent a lot of time studying the role as any good actor should, I suppose. But it was spectacular, and there wasn't a dull moment. I took a break halfway through just because, circumstance, people were leaving and whatnot. And I think that helped. I wonder if I just went the full 3 hours, would I have ever gotten exhausted? I don't know though. That courtroom scene it really keeps your interest. The courtroom scene almost comes out of nowhere and saves the film just as you're about to feel like, okay, I'm a little sick of this. Then along comes the courtroom scene.
Yeah, you're like, this has to build to something, and then it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I fully agree with that piece. I feel like I'm the odd Matt out. I didn't love it. At least the first chunk. I did have to watch it in installments, just partly because of how my schedule is, and then partly because of what my attention span was. But I struggled through probably the first hour, I would say. And I definitely hit a point of, if it's just more of this for the next hour and a half, it's not going to be a good time. Like, yes, he spoke Russian. Let's move on. I feel like they focused on that a lot. Where like, why would Lee Harvey Oswald speak Russian? It doesn't make sense. So yeah, there was that piece to it. I also felt like filmically, there were just certain things, both visually and within the editing and even within the style of acting, where it felt like I was watching Unsolved Mysteries like in 1994 or 1995. So I definitely got that vibe, but mostly early on, like when they were doing the flashbacks and like when there was the weird motion blur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there were definitely certain moments like early on in the film that just set it up in a way where I thought, I don't know
see what you mean though, because they made them, whenever they're in those flashback scenes, they move weird, like they do in those reenactments on Unsolved Mysteries, where they're like, they move and it's almost like there's like a shadow of them behind it, like yeah. I see. I didn't notice that, but you're saying it now. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's very unsolved mysteries. But once I kind of got past that, I think once it hit almost the halfway point, and once we got the Mr. X scene, that's when I was a lot more invested. Like, yeah, I loved that. And the courtroom scene, and once it got into the specifics of speculating the mechanics of the hows and the whys and the possibilities of how the unaliving could have gone down, that's the stuff that I like, that got me. And then I also found myself thinking, do I believe this movie? Do I not believe this movie? Oh, now I'm conflicted. I don't know if I want to believe this movie. And I still don't know if I want to believe the movie, but I was very interested in that aspect of it. So before we dive into that, from those who have seen it before, Ben, Jeanette, and Anna, did anything stand out to you on your rewatch for this?
Anna?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think the first time was only a couple years ago, so I think I didn't really have that thing of like, oh, I saw this when I was a kid and I returned to it. Yeah, for me, I really like the editing. Like, I think something that sort of maybe stood out is that there's no actor playing JFK. Like, any footage of him is just purely archival, and so I kind of really like that. Yeah, I think that just kind of like the editing, how it blends, how it takes like the archival and reenactment and sort of like the present day filmic look. And it's all very distinct, but it also just kind of comes together in a way that I really like. I think it's, yeah, I just really like that.
Costner stood out to me this time because Costner is an actor who I'm sort of fascinated by for how like average and just like he's just such a like a normal guy to me, and I've never really understood the full appeal of Costner. And this year, especially like with his Horizon project, which I went to see the first installment of before Warner Brothers pulled the second one out of theaters before it got to theaters. They pulled the release date. Do you know about this, Matt?
I know nothing about this.
So Kevin Costner quit Yellowstone, and he poured all of his Yellowstone money and sold his houses and used his divorce money to completely self-fund this, what he plans to be a 4-part epic Western called Horizon: An American Saga.
Oh,
and
no.
this summer,
that's not a Yellowstone.
not related at
thing?
all. Actually, the creator of Yellowstone, I'm pretty sure, is quite pissed at Kevin Costner for
I would
quitting
be
his
too, because
show.
it definitely feels like a spinoff.
It feels
Or
so much
looks
like in the
like it.
same
I haven't
vein.
seen it.
And Kevin
Looks
Costner's been wanting to make this for decades, and like I had to see this, even though I don't really care about him. Like I don't understand his appeal, but I'm fascinated by him for being so unfascinated. I don't know how to explain it. And so I had to see this movie. So I went the last night. It played for like a week in Toronto, and they were supposed to put part 1 out this summer. He's already shot part 1 and 2, and then the second part was supposed to come out in August. So it was end of July was part 1, mid-August, like 3 weeks later was part 2.
And it
did
premiered
so
at
poorly,
Cannes,
they
right?
pulled it. And
Oh,
yeah, they
no.
premiered at Cannes. And then he's already shooting 3 right now. And he's just like, it doesn't matter. I'm not a opening weekend kind of guy. Like that's what he said. He's like, I'm just going to keep making my horizons.
Like, he's ready to
Same
lose
here.
hundreds of millions of
And he's
dollars.
spending so much money, and I'm like, this guy is crazy. And like, he makes such long movies. Like he, Dances with Wolves is a long movie. The Postman is a long movie. The Waterworld is a long
Waterworld
movie.
is a relatively long movie for what it is.
Oh
He
no.
loves
Don't
length.
look. I'll have no Waterworld shame. Okay, no Waterworld shame.
Waterworld is a whole other discussion, which I think we should have on the show one day because it is.
I'm
I'm
a
waiting for
fascinating
Waterworld to happen.
All right.
because
Yo,
I'm
let's
like
do a
such a
Kevin
dick.
Costner month. I want to watch Field of Dreams.
Costner.
Field of
Yeah.
Dreams.
Which I just watched for the first time last weekend because I'm in
Oh.
Costner mode, you guys. I'm
Whoa,
like
hey.
Costanza. It's like I'm
And
going
Costner
Costner
filled.
mode.
Rest
And
in
such-
peace, James Earl Jones. He was
Yeah.
spectacular in that film.
Absolutely.
I
But
turned off Field of Dreams when the wife said she's making coffee for the ghosts.
Ghosts like coffee too, Matthew.
They
Now,
can't
here's the
drink
thing.
coffee, Ben.
Costner is not my guy, but I think that this may be his best performance. I think he's extraordinary in this movie, and I think that he helps carry us, the viewer, sort of through the confusion. And I love just in general films that are about, this movie is really an argument. It's really like trying to be something very persuasive. And I'm not sure I personally subscribe to a lot of the argument it's making, but damn if I love how it's constructed. And I feel like it's all constructed through the prism of the Jim Garrison character. He was a real man, and I doubt he was very much like this guy. But the way that Costner sort of is, sort of the anchor point of the movie, and the way that he kind of culminates, all of this conspiracy into this argument he makes in the courtroom. I just think his performance is like really admirable, and I think that to answer your question in this very roundabout way, I think that he was the thing that stood out to me this time on the rewatch, was really being impressed by what Costner pulls off here. Because otherwise, I'm like, I gotta understand this guy,
Did it distract anyone else when they kept saying Mr. Garrison? Because
Yeah,
I'm a South Park fan, and they just kept saying Mr. Garrison. I'm like, shut up! I can't take it.
Yeah.
What? No.
Mr. Garrison's a major South
Mr.
Park
Hat. Hey,
Yeah.
Mr. Hat. Yeah.
Mr.
Hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was driving me crazy. But yeah, I have to agree with Ben. This was probably the first movie I've watched with Costner in it. That's not that that's the thing that stood out to me. There's other stuff, but that thing about Costner, like I was watching, I was like, oh, Costner's really good in this. Like he's not just Costner. I feel like Costner is like if you sucked all the the same thing as like Nicolas Cage, but if you sucked all the personality out of him. Like he's just Kevin Costner in everything. But in this one, it did feel transformative to me. The thing that stood out to me on this one, I think, was the idea of kind of a twofold thing, that Costner's character is this barometer of manicness and wildness and out there-ness with the Kennedy experience. That it did, like, when I was a kid, there were kids in my friend group who were obsessed with Kennedy and would pore over books and figure out the history and all, like, come up with their own conspiracy theories and say, like, it's a thing, it's a pastime. So, like, I liked seeing that happen, like, in the early days, like, right when it was happening. And then we'll get into House of Yes as well, like 20 years later, And then the other thing, too, kind of on that same note, as being a barometer or an analogy or symbol of, like, is this whole idea of the more you look, the less you'll find. Like, we went through all of this and we got to the court, and because in real life that there's never been a solution, like the Titanic, like, nothing's gonna go, nothing good is coming of this, but you were still, for some reason, in that scene, hopeful. And I think that it just keeps showing you, like, and he says it in the movie too, that plenty of people tell him, like, the more you look for an answer, the less able you're going to be to find it. They are going to hide it. They're going to hurt people. They're going to all this, and convincing people in general is quite elusive. So at the end of the movie, when you don't have that satisfaction that you should have from the end of a movie, because he didn't get that satisfaction and the country didn't get that satisfaction, the world didn't, I thought that was nice, because what a movie is doing and where you're going to end up isn't, to me, always the same. Like, you're not getting you're not feeling what the characters are feeling. You're not necessarily, sometimes you're just watching it. And in this one, I really felt like we were getting that confusion and lost feeling.
Yeah.
Nicely said. Well, yeah, that's a good segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is, what do we think this movie is setting out to do? Because in some ways, there were moments when I felt like, am I watching a propaganda movie that just is taking a very definitive stance on this moment in history and then presenting it as fact? Or do we feel like it's trying to be objective and just saying, like, this is a thing that happened in history, this is what Garrison, is that his Costner's name? Whatever. This is what Costner's character believes. This is how he presented it in court. Audience, make up your own mind. Or does it kind of fall somewhere in the middle of that? And even outside of that, is the movie trying to make a bigger point outside of the specifics of the Kennedy unaliving? I feel like there was something interesting in the courtroom scene about the dangers of not being able to trust your country. And I do think that there's a bigger discussion there that I find engaging. But yeah, overall, I guess the question is, what do we think this movie is trying to be? And is it successful at that?
I mean, well, like I was saying, I think that it is trying to show you, I think it's a time capsule for the majority of the film. But then I do think it takes a propaganda-ish turn kind of in the last third of the film. But then I also wonder if that's because, like, that tone was intentional to show us that he's going a little crazy. So I did sit there and think that. I was like, does Stone believe this specific theory? because like just because you don't believe the magic bullet theory doesn't mean that you believe this theory. There's like, you know, A through Z, take your pick. There's 20, you know, however many options.
Even the movie is kind of like there's so many like it could have been the Russians, it could have been the Cubans, it could have been the CIA. Like even when he's kind of making the case, it almost seems like he's like not like he's more convinced of like the how than the exact mechanism of like this is who signed the letter, you know, basically like
yeah,
it could have been through this, like
And I think that following that, like I said, I think the first 2/3 of the film is showing you what it did to the country. To me, like this was one of the best depictions I'd ever seen. I think also because they're focusing on the South and specifically where I grew up. Obviously, I was not a child in the 60s, but I know what was still happening in the 80s and 90s. And to hear conversations like, if you look back at history, you think, oh, everybody was so sad Kennedy died. And it's like, no, much like now, there were plenty of people who did not like him or what he stood for. And this was like to me, one of the absolute best depictions of that because it was subtle enough. It was like, oh yeah, people would just be talking. They would just be saying stuff or they'd be acting emboldened because their leader, you know, like the other side's leader was taken down. So now their side is emboldened to act ridiculous. And so I did think it did a great job of that. But then you do question at the end, like, is it really propaganda or is it propaganda to make you think about propaganda? Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, the outside circumstances of me YouTubing an interview with Oliver Stone, the fact that the first one came up was him on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about how this is a conspiracy that is legit seemingly. I didn't watch much of the interview. I was like, this doesn't bode well for how I want to read this movie.
You definitely spoiled the tone for you a little bit.
I listened to the entire thing the other day. It's not a bad interview. You know, I gotta say. Oliver Stone, he's trying to stay anchored down the entire time. I will say, I think Oliver goes in and he knows, look, I can't prove it's the CIA. I'm going to float the idea. I'm going to float a bunch of different ideas, but he's going to go in all in on trying to prove that there's more than one shooter. Lee Harvey might have been set up, and there is a conspiracy. And then, hang on, can we talk about Joe Pesci's eyebrows for a second?
Of course we can.
They were supposed to look ridiculous.
Okay, so that's how
he got into the
unstuck
dip brow.
The guy was a character. He was
okay.
Yeah, he was supposed to look like that.
Nightmare.
Okay, I thought that was a byproduct
right
of like 90s hair and makeup as opposed to
no. He was so they comment. Another character says the guy with the weird eyebrows, and they comment about his hairpiece and stuff. Yeah.
Because I almost got whiplash when he showed up on screen. I'm like, oh my God. But you know what? I'm sorry, I'm completely going off track here. But then Tommy Lee Jones's hair kind of looked like a sheep. So like, there's a lot of great hair pieces in this film.
There are.
But like, anyway, back to the other thing. I think Oliver Stone, he just went all in on proving that there's something weird going on here. And I think he did a very good job of at least letting the viewer know that what we were told after it happened
ain't it?
That's not true.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I feel like this movie absolutely is propaganda. It's stick, you know, it's a lot of propaganda. It's definitely pushing an argument. It's pushing a conspiracy, and it's telling you to question what you're told 100%. It's not definitive on what it's telling you, except to question the things that you're told by the higher ups, right? By the government, by the people in power and the people in charge. And that invokes a lot of a kind of a propaganda feeling. But I also agree too with Jeanette and Matt and Vince, everybody, what they're saying, what you guys are saying about how it's also kind of about that too, that there is another level. He's playing in the sandbox and he's showing you the sandbox of, you know, this is how these things kind of get constructed and this is why we construct them. And I really think that he's pushing this kind of ultimate, the propaganda is, it's almost mostly focused on this idea that there was this like kind of sense of American optimism and idealism that died with Kennedy, and the grown-ups aren't telling you the truth about like why it happened or how it happened. And so as citizens, we need to we need to be more skeptical. We need to question. We need to reevaluate. And yeah, I think that I think the itchiness that you're feeling, Matt, is very justified in a way. I don't think that this movie. I don't think that you should swallow everything that this movie is selling you. You know, but I think that you can still enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was just gonna say, I think actually kind of like The House of Yes, this is a movie about an absent father. Like Kennedy kind of as this like patriarchal figure in America, and I think in that sort of like American culture, and just like, yeah, the absence of him as this sort of president who I think kind of represented a lot to a lot of people, like kind of represented a very like progressive way forward. And I actually think like in Oliver Stone's filmography, like literally timeline wise, but also I think just in terms of like mood and vibe, I think this falls kind of perfectly in between Born on the 4th of July and Nixon, because Born on the 4th of July is like very much about that sort of like American people being swindled into a war they shouldn't have been part of, and like the innocence lost of it all, and the sort of like betrayal of the government to the people. And then Nixon is about politics as a culture of paranoia. And I think that this kind of like exists in both of those things, where on one hand, you kind of have like what JFK symbolized to people, and then in turn, what his assassination symbolized. And then also that sort of culture of paranoia that probably existed beforehand, but I think came to the forefront after his assassination. And yeah, I mean, I think like absolutely it's propaganda, but I think that probably the core of it, and there's a lot that I'm sure is created for the movie. I don't think this, as much as it might be filmed like a documentary, I don't think it is. But I think that sort of core idea of like, they know more than they're telling us, which I think is probably a like consensus opinion on JFK still to this day. Like, it did not go down exactly the way that we are told it went down. Maybe it doesn't mean that, you know, the CIA had like, 10 shooters behind the bushes. Maybe it was just one other person on the grassy knoll or whatever. But there's like something to this story that we don't know the full truth of.
Yeah, one thing I didn't realize is that there are literally thousands of files that either hadn't been released or like only were recently released.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and there's still some that aren't.
5 years, baby.
Do we know what they said? Do we know like what has been outlined in the stuff that has been released?
Here's the thing: they release these documents, and then they've all got black
They're
lines
all
redacted.
It's all redacted until I think the final release.
Yeah,
like basically people were pissed that it was 2038, but there's also some, like Vince said, coming out in 5 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot more cases like that than you think. There's tons of material that'll be released in 2027 about Columbine that they've kept from the American public.
What?
So that's in 3 years. Almost 2. I'm very excited about that. Yeah. So that's wild when you find that sort of stuff out, right? Where you're like, so how can they just do that?
Even in the end of the movie, he's like talking about how, I'm not going to live to see that, but maybe my son will. And I love that moment, because in some ways it's like so pessimistic that like that's the hope of the future, is that maybe when your son is like 60, he'll get to learn the truth. Like that's the hope at the end of this movie.
So what do we think the purpose is behind holding back information that will eventually be released? Is the idea that
so
like
that everybody
no one will care
involved will be dead?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no one can be punished for it. No one who was in. If this was a grand conspiracy involving like Cuban defectors and the CIA, everyone who did it is dead now.
Yeah. Also, the secret that is at the core of whatever is the thing that's being hidden between the magic bullet theory and the end all, what we don't know, whatever this factor X is over here, is that the people, if there was more than 3-5 people involved, we would know by now. Like these weirdos coming out of the woodworks and being like, I know what happened. Somebody would validate them. More than 5 people are not keeping a secret for 50, 60, 70 years. Like, that's
that's
bizarre.
what
That doesn't
Did
happen.
they address that in the movie though? At one point,
that's what
They
the
say
guy
that,
from
and that's the
Mallrats
thing with
said.
most conspiracy theories. Yeah, that's the thing with most conspiracy theories. More than 5 freaking people can't keep a secret. We're human. It's not happening. So if this was a thing, it's the people at the very, very top or somebody who was being shady and shifty.
Hang on. Here's the thing. The argument against that would be that if the CIA did it, they would be allowed to whack anyone who's got loose lips.
And they would have all
Whereas
the stuff necessary to.
Mr. Garrison can't do that. He can't just start.
Yeah, it's an all
taking
or
out-
nothing. It's either everybody knows and it's a huge secret, or 3 people know and it was an inside job.
So didn't we almost see I might be speaking ignorantly. Didn't we almost see a version of this last year with the alien whistleblower, where someone like outright came out and said, by the way, there's aliens? And then I feel like, just as someone who only half paid attention to that in the news, mostly because I was scared to find out the truth, it feels like it just kind of went away quietly, where everyone for a few days was like, oh, there's aliens, we don't care. And then it was done.
I know.
There's so much going on in the world that even if people were like, there are aliens, I feel like
that's what everybody.
You got bigger fish to fry down here, buddy.
Well, you know what breaks my heart about this is that raid on Area 51 that was planned a few years ago, they were just premature. If they waited a few years and timed, and they timed it in concert with the whistleblower last year, then that's it. We'd be in Star Trek right now.
Naruto run at that gate would have been really successful.
I love Star Trek so much. This is around the time in the Star Trek history where, things are getting hectic, in the 2020s. Anyway, I'm getting off track.
It's going to lead, it all leads to Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah.
It all leads to John Candy, who I'm sure Matt was delighted to see in this movie. Matt, how did it feel to see John Candy in JFK?
Oh, it was so good. It was
sunglasses.
That was like a fantastic character. I just wanted a spin-off of that character.
Right?
I just want this weird guy talking 50s, hey, Jive, like Jive talk to somebody. Hey, Daddy-O. Let's get out of here.
Oh, I thought it was as good as when Channing Tatum showed up in Deadpool this summer. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm getting flashbacks now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I actually wasn't sure that I didn't know who it was. I knew I recognized him, and I just thought I love watching this character. And then eventually I Wikipedia did and thought, of course.
Because every 10 seconds in this movie, you're like, hey, someone I recognize. Hey, someone I recognize.
Oh, The Odd Couple. Oh, it's the other guy from The Odd Couple.
Yeah, right? Oh my God.
You get Lemon, and then later you get Matthau, and they never meet in the movie. And you're like, these are the best friends, and they're legends.
But they go home together. They're going home to the same apartment, though.
Same apartment. One's very neat, and one's very messy.
I
love Lemon so much. I love him so much. I love
Life Gives You Lemons.
When life gives you lemons, you watch Jack Lemmon in a movie. We just watched 12 Angry Men, the TV movie that he's in, and
such a good movie.
Is it a TV movie of 12?
Yeah, it's got Gandolfini,
97.
it's got Tony Danza, it's got Lemon, it's got
James Gandolfini.
Yes.
Wow. No kidding.
Is he Henry Fonda, or which one's Henry Fonda?
I can't remember. Oh, well, Henry Fonda's the one that turns them all, right?
Yeah,
that's Lemon.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah,
it's great. It's I think 97. William Friedkin, great movie. Great in it.
Great movie.
William Peterson.
Is it on YouTube? How do I watch it?
It's on Criterion Channel right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
a TV movie on
they have a whole courtroom drama series. It's like Christmas.
This would fit very well, I feel, because I think only about like 30 or 40 minutes of it is actually in the courtroom, but the movie has a courtroom drama feeling. JFK, I feel like it really situate well in there.
They're arguing cases in rooms.
Exactly.
They don't have to be a courtroom. They're just sitting around a table arguing cases.
The courtroom section is the length of a standard movie anyway. It was probably 90 minutes.
Yeah.
There it goes. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit, I guess, about the Kennedy culture and almost fanaticism that I think is examined a little bit in this movie. And just overall to almost transition us, I suppose, into House of Yes. it's something as a Canadian born when I was born that I didn't super experience, but just kind of witnessed the repercussions of just seeing people being really into the Kennedys, both, you know, as a cultural icon, like power couple when they were around, and then also what Kennedy was doing politically. And then there's also the Marilyn Monroe conspiracy and everything. Like, what is it about Kennedy you think that people find so interesting compared?
He was hot.
Yeah, that's probably
Like genuinely, I think part of it is that he was like a young president.
Yeah, he was
who,
our
like,
youngest president.
people looked up to, and he kind of represented, I think, this like new kind of attitude. You know, he's the first Catholic president. Like, he, I think, was someone who like a lot of people saw. And you have to remember, in the 60s, you could be racist against the Catholics still. Like, he was someone who kind of symbolized like something new and exciting. And I think that that was only underlined by his death. Like, I think if he had like served his term and gotten voted out, we would not regard the Kennedys the way that we do now. I think it's the sort of like, it's the promise and the tragedy that makes Kennedy such a central figure. And yeah, I mean, I think like that, I think probably one of the most like important presidents in like history, just even for like the cultural significance.
Yeah, actually, that was the other thing I wanted to tie into that question was, what do we think would have happened in like the alternate timeline where there's no Kennedy unaliving, as it were? Do we think the legacy would have been as big as it is now? Do we think he would have accomplished the things in this movie that they say he wanted to do, which Oliver Stone pseudo claims is why he was, paraded?
Yeah, Vietnam may have looked very different.
Yeah,
may have looked differently. I don't know.
I think Vietnam would have been different. I don't think he would have ended the Cold War. I think that was so like entrenched. I mean, yeah, I think Vietnam might have looked different. I think chances are he would have, served 2 terms and then Nixon would have become president anyway. But yeah, I do think Vietnam might have been maybe not non-existent, like maybe not a full pullout the way that like some theorists might say they would have, but I think it would have been different.
My understanding is that John F. Kennedy was not very good at pulling out. So who knows? It's very difficult to say. I read that in a book once. Why is everyone laughing? Anyway.
I think well, he must have been, though, because we don't know. Marilyn never had any babies. Oh, they got to her before that she could.
How many Kennedy bastards are running around? That's what I want to know. It's some Game of Thrones stuff.
Well, some Kennedy bastards are part of the official family.
Oh.
Unfortunately, one of them has got worms in his brain and thought he was going to run for president too.
What?
So
which one?
RFK Jr.
RFK Jr.
Don't explore.
The madman.
This is why I had to do this marathon. I don't know any of this. I love it. Learning so much.
Yeah, go look it up. He chainsawed the head off a whale. He has worms in his brain. He
hit a bear with a car, and that's like the 50th weirdest thing about him.
A surgeon messed up his larynx. He's got like larynx damage.
The Kennedy family, no favors. I'll say that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Kennedys that didn't deserve to die.
Yeah. Some that were left in squalor in random mansions, and then there's this guy.
Yeah.
Bold statements. Love it.
Yeah, justice for the Bouvier side.
Yeah, right? Thank you. Exactly. If Grey Gardens. Yeah. I think that to the point about what would have looked different, I think that, I don't know. I look at, and I don't mean to make it demeaning this way, would Nirvana be as important if Kurt Cobain hadn't died when he did?
Ooh.
So like,
you can say
that's kind of how I feel about
too,
the Kennedy presidency is like, if you die at the right moment, fine, like it's gonna last forever. But I even feel like if he would have been assassinated at a different height in his presidency, it still would have made a big deal because we don't have very many of those. But like, I just don't know that it would have had the ongoing effect, cultural effect, and obsession with the actual people, because of people had already named his time in office Camelot, and like they'd already given it this like whole thing,
Mhm.
and everybody was so excited about it. I think the thing that you would have seen maybe faster change on was the civil rights movement. I think like
Yeah.
people had faith in him for a reason. He was doing things and making changes, and those changes slowed down dramatically after he died.
Yeah.
That part of this film was very correct.
Especially
Like,
going into like Johnson and Nixon after him. Yeah.
yeah, like, and you know, I know there were two other ones between, but like Reagan didn't do any favors later on. There's just these stunts in the growth, and him dying didn't do any favors for that. So I feel like those are the things that would have looked different. To speak to the culture, like I said earlier, I think that every youthful generation, like every generation's youth, finds this story and puts it in a different box. Like, I think when we watch House of Yes, like the people from the 80s, like the conspiracy theory things weren't huge yet. They weren't very mainstream. So people focused on the culture and the style and the kind of the nostalgia of it. Whereas when you got into the 90s, like artists like Marilyn Manson based whole albums around like the Kennedy conspiracies and what the you know, American idealism coming out of that did to America afterwards and things like that. So I do think that it changes with each decade going out from it, like what the Kennedy pop culture thing means to that specific generation.
Has anyone here seen a mini series called 11/22/63
Yes.
or read the book?
I was gonna
Stephen King
bring that
book.
up.
I've always
Yeah.
wanted to. I never read it or seen the show.
It's worthwhile because, like, I don't know if you guys know the premise, but it's about a time
Like, going back in
traveler
time, right?
going back to try and stop the assassination.
Oh, like
And-
Umbrella Academy.
A little bit, you know. I'm not sure who's ripping off who there, but both properties explore it very differently.
Yeah.
And I think it goes in interesting directions that you wouldn't think. But a lot of the
Kennedy
stuff,
camps.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of the stuff covered in this film is addressed in the miniseries and the book, I suppose. And I think it's worthwhile if you guys are into that. If you guys can stand 3 hours of this, you can tolerate 6 hours of that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I think my tragic downfall with watching this was that my first really big intro to this whole narrative was 11/22/63, which is definitely even more factually inaccurate than this.
You're watching JFK. Like, why is no one trying to stop it?
Exactly.
What
Like,
if
where's
I-
James
Why
Franco
don't
when
you
you need
go
them?
back?
I do also though recommend 11/22/63. It was quite good. It was quite
Then we
good.
should watch it.
Let's do it.
Yes. Well, we'll do Kennedy month one day. We'll see.
Perfect.
Although, I mean, we kind of checked the two major ones off.
Right.
Whatever. Here we
There's
are.
13 days. That's another one, right? Isn't that's Kennedy?
Which
Isn't it?
Costner's also in that movie.
Yeah.
But I think Bruce
Yeah.
Greenwood plays Kennedy, and I forget
Oh.
who Costner plays.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Jackie.
thinking 12 Monkeys. That's a different thing.
Yeah. 13 days about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
That's different. That's different. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Also, I'm curious. Well, no. Let's see. I had another question, but maybe I'll come back around to it later. All right. Let's move into House of Yes. It is time. Hooray! Okay. So I'll open because this is the movie that made me want to do this whole marathon in the first place. Was any excuse to make people want to watch House of Yes. I love it. Yeah. I loved this movie when I was a teenager. This is my first time revisiting it in over 10 to 15 years. But yeah, just to give background into how it came into my life, in retrospect, it's kind of screwed up because I saw the play at my high school, like for the Ontario Sears Drama Festival. Some of the grade 11 and 12 students decided to do House of Yes. And so there I was, like little 14-year-old Mac, just going to see my school play. And then that's how I learned about the Kennedy assassination and also how I learned about twincest and all of it. It was a learning experience. But yeah, I was just so captivated by it, mostly because of the dialogue, like the really dark, dry, snappy dialogue. And then I found out that there was a movie and I sought it out. And this was when DVDs were still scarce. And so I had to dig through a bunch of VHS clearance sections until I finally found it. And I was just obsessed. I was like, this movie is perfectly cast, which I still do believe. And loved the just being able to quote it because I think it has some incredible one-liners, like simple things like "No pancakes here, I'm afraid," or "I'm going to go baste the turkey and hide the kitchen knives." Just so many great things. And yeah, I was really engaged with it as a filmic adaptation of a stage play, which I still am. I think overall it is a pretty good adaptation, and overall, yeah, I feel like it holds up better than I thought it would. In fact, I still actively very much enjoy this movie, but I'll dig into it more. Had anyone else seen it before this assignment? Oh my god, I'm so excited to hear everyone's first thoughts. Oh, also my mom's here with the cats. Yay! Hello.
Hi, Martha.
Hey, Martha.
Hello. Who rented? No one rented the movie. I found it. I bought it.
It fell off a truck.
Exactly. It fell off a truck. Ben, let's hear your opening thoughts on House of Yes. What do you think?
Well, I want to thank Anna for saying, "Hey, Ben, I watched The House of Yes last night. I think you should watch this with your mom. It's really good." So, thank
Okay.
you.
What were you getting him back for?
Comedies.
She does like dark comedies. We didn't know what the movie was about. I think what's fascinating, Matt, is that this movie meant so much to you, as you're an impressionable teenager, you're loving theater, you're loving film, you're seeing the value of the adaptation. I think this movie was really significant for you in your creative mind as someone who loves theater and film. And what I kind of love about that is it's also a movie that I feel like its imprint, I think, is culturally very small. Like, I don't know many people who've seen this movie, who have heard about it. And so you kind of have dug this gem out and you're like, here's a little gem for people to discover, I mean, my mom had not heard of it. I had heard of it through you. I didn't know what it was about. So Anna says, watch with your mom. And I go, sure. So we rent it.
What did you do to her that she was
context? I feel like we need the context that Ben is at home staying with his family.
Yeah, great
So
way to watch it.
Well, so I meant it as if you're gonna watch it, I think you could watch it with your mom rather than being like, "Bye, family. I have to go to the other room to watch thing on my iPad."
Which maybe I should have, but I told my mom, "Hey, Anna recommended we watch this movie together." So we put it up on the projector.
Oh my god!
We throw it on. Mom's sitting there and she's going Anna told you to watch this.
At least there's no actual intimate scenes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I was like, there's nothing
subliminal
in this. It was just kind of like a weird, quirky movie, and that's what your mom likes.
I'm just giving you a hard. I'm exaggerating. I mean, we both
pretty funny though.
I think we found it as uncomfortable as I think we were intended to find it.
This was an uncomfortable movie. I think.
Yes.
We were watching this.
I think
I'm going to bring Lisa just for the reactions. Sorry, there we go. Lisa's reactions are really entertaining. We'll do a proper intro to Lisa in a little bit, but Lisa's joining.
Yes, great to see you, Lisa. I think that this movie is fascinating for the fact that its cultural imprint might be small, but it has incredible performances in casting, like you mentioned, Matt. It's amazing to see these people in these roles and how they've kind of grown. How it uses Kennedy as an idea in this kind of interpersonal family drama. I'm a little bit sort of perplexed by it in some ways, and I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. It was definitely an unusual, very funny, very well made movie. And I love that this guy went on to make Mean Girls. I just think that's great.
I feel like you can kind of see Mean Girls seeds in the scenes between Jackie O and Leslie. Pretend it's not my brother, I do. Yeah, it's there. It's all there. Jeanette, what would you think?
I loved it. I can't believe that this did not show up on my radar at some other point, especially at the friend group I had in high school. I don't know how this never made its way into my DVD player ever. But I will be watching it often now. This was I thought it was fun. I thought it was kind of I literally didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, somebody's going to die sometime, somewhere. I don't know. I was like that. It feels like it. I didn't know whether this was going to be a horror movie. It was a dark comedy. It felt like it was getting serious for a while. I was like, what's going on? And then I'm sorry, but Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, All he had to do was stand there, and I was just dying laughing. He was the affable idiot that was just so lovable. My only complaint, I think, is that I feel like the main actor, like the main guy, is just a sack of margarine. I can't. There's nothing there. I don't know. I didn't get chemistry with anybody, really. I got the uncomfortableness.
We're like,
with
I
his
wouldn't want
sister,
him to be
was-
my brother.
he was weird. I don't know. I didn't get any chemistry. I didn't get much of anything from him. But everybody else, fantastic.
Nice. Anna, what'd you think?
I loved it. I had a great time with it. I had like never heard of it. Which again, like I'm surprised just like knowing like people I know and what movies they like. Like I'm surprised this didn't come up in my life before. But I think it's hilarious. I loved it. I love Parker Posey. Again, like I'm surprised more people don't talk about this as like a big Parker Posey movie. Yeah, great. I'm so glad I watched it. I think it's wonderful. I'm excited to talk about it.
Nice. Vince, what'd you think?
I want to preface this by saying I love you all, but this movie did not hit for me. And like, is it like, am I supposed to dislike it? And is this why it's a good movie? I'm not sure. But look, I think the direction was strange. And when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, Mark Waters. I didn't know he did Mean Girls, right? So I'm thinking this must be like John Waters' like brother or something. This is a strange movie.
This movie does have some Waters-esque
stuff. Relation. Maybe they're distant Waters cousins, but I couldn't confirm it.
It could have been a Water. You could have told me this was a John Waters film, and
I dreams and tributaries of Waters.
I would have understood it, but then like it felt like it didn't feel like enough of a dark comedy. Like it felt too serious, and then the twincest thing was like, okay, this is weird. I can't believe they're going in this direction. And I'm thinking this is a 1997 film. They must be ripping off Game of Thrones that prominently featured twincest, which was released as a book in 1995. But the play debuted in 1990. So maybe George R.R. Martin saw a production of this and was like, "Oh, I could do twincest better."
Unfortunately, I think twincest is just a thing.
I think
it's just a thing.
To that point, the subtitle of let me look it up. The subtitle of the actual play is
I want to hear this.
When a Man Loves a Woman? No.
It is The House of Yes, a suburban Jacobean play, because it's taking, at least in the twincest element, it's taking inspiration from this Jacobean tragedy called 'Tis Pity She's a Whore, which has really not, like, the title is kind of irrelevant to the plot. The plot is about a brother and sister who discover that they have mutual lust for each other, and they're like, it's forbidden, we can't, but then they go for it, and tragedy ensues. And it's a really good, dark, disturbing play.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
here's the thing.
That's always been a thing. So I feel like all of them drew from that well.
I did not enjoy this as a film, but I would love to see it as a play, because I don't know, it's kind of sticking with me, and it makes sense that you bring up Jacobean stuff. You know, this brother and sister almost feel like Cesare and Lucretia Borgia. You know, if you're familiar with those figures of history, they were a pretty wild couple, I should say, to put it lightly. I don't know. Look, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I will say there's this interesting crossover I noticed between, like, a shared theme almost between the two films we're reviewing tonight. Both films seem to associate their sex scene with the death of a Kennedy, which is very interesting. You know, that was the first thing that popped into my head when I finally got around to see Mr. Garrison bang
Sissy Spacek.
It was immediately after the death of RFK, and I'm thinking, oh, this is kind of like House of Yes.
Tragedy brings people together.
So I don't know. I can't even give it I can't quantify how I feel about this film. I don't want to give it a number review. I didn't love it the way you guys do.
Hey, I said, Vince, I'm a little beguiled. I'm a little perplexed by some of it.
Okay.
So you're not alone.
I think there's an element of
Fantastic.
female rage that will make. I don't know. We still don't know how Lisa feels about it, but I feel like there is this element of like
You're
calling
Her
women
subtitle says
crazy.
Jackie,
She was
oh.
actually crazy, but like there's this like rage
relishing
thing that
in
she
it.
does where
Yeah.
it's like, "Ugh," and I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I feel you, girl.
It's
Feel you.
kind of the way that I relished like Glenn Close and Fatal Attraction, where I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, that's not good, but I love how strong it is.
Oh my god. Okay, remind me after off air because it has nothing to do with this. I have to tell you a story about Glenn Close Fatal Attraction.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you boil a bunny, Jeanette?
No.
On the topic of female rage, I just want to take a moment to shout out when Parker Posey screams at the very beginning. It's like, we're engaged, the scream.
That was my
We're
favorite.
here.
That part right there.
She's so good. I love her so much.
She screams and then you watch her face go, oh, I have to make this sound like an excited scream. And she goes,
Yeah.
just like changes the pitch mid scream. I loved that. That was
I have to find my hairbrush. I have a comb. So good. Lisa, welcome.
Hi. I'm so
Welcome to-
sorry I was late, but it's a good thing because I couldn't get through JFK. So it's not that I didn't love it. It's just that it's a very dense movie. So that's all I have to say about JFK.
No, you came right on time. You came right on time.
Yes.
So, Lisa, quickly, opening question. What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh my God. Okay. It actually is a JFK conspiracy theory, guys. Okay. So it is the theory that Frank Sinatra is responsible for killing JFK.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Okay, so for those who haven't heard of this, there's the theory that Frank Sinatra hired some mobsters to assassinate JFK because a few months or a few years before the assassination, Frank Sinatra Jr. was kidnapped. And Frank Sinatra was good friends with JFK and was like, "Buddy, you're the president. Can you help me find my kid?" And he was like, "No, you're a mobster. Like, fuck off. I'm not going to deal with you guys. Good luck." That's verbatim specifically. Anyway, so the theory is that Frank Sinatra was so pissed off by that, he hired some hitmen and he's responsible. When I tell this to Frank Sinatra fans, they're livid. They do not find this funny, but I love it. I don't think it's true, but I just love the idea that Frank Sinatra would have this idea in his head. Anyway, so that's my favorite
I
conspiracy.
love that that's floating out there. in
Yeah.
the
I
world.
learned that in my history teacher's extracurricular activity class called Conspiracy Club. It was ran by Miss Bartok at Cawthorpe Park Secondary School. Shout out to Miss Bartok. And the first day she showed us like the shooting, which I thought JFK should have showed the actual shooting, like the shot of
They-
JFK being shot.
They do.
They
They
do.
do. In
They do.
in the courtroom scene at the end.
Yeah.
Didn't make it that far.
It's a very good scene.
Didn't make
I
it that
didn't realize how graphic that film act like this.
Mhm.
that footage is like
You
his,
see, like the brains coming out and shit. Oh, it's
Yeah.
like fucking.
I mean, it's
oh.
grainy. It's old
You
footage.
can still
but, like,
see half his face fall.
Yeah,
If you look
it's
real
like
closely, you can
upsetting.
see Frank Sinatra with a gun going, "Ain't that a kick in the head?"
yes, Ben. Yes. Yes. Oh man.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, that was great. Anyway,
Oh,
that's my
Benjamin.
favorite conspiracy theory.
Whew. All right. Lisa, let's hear your thoughts on House of Yes. Can you imagine the privilege of watching this performed on the stage at Cawthorpe Park Secondary School?
Honestly, I feel I am envious of you because that would have been such an experience.
It was so good.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also, like, Jackie O was played by Hannah Cheeseman, who is like a pretty successful working actor. Right?
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool.
I filmed an audition for Hannah Cheeseman
Oh,
once
did
when I
you?
worked at Casting Central or
You
Central
know,
Casting Central. Yeah.
she's very tall. She's
Yes.
very tall. And people in high school, they kept comparing her to Meryl Streep. Which
I need
is,
to look her up.
yeah.
Hannah Cheeseman.
Hannah Cheeseman. I mean, like, it's not like she's an A-lister, but she has credits in things that you'll recognize.
She looks like
yeah.
a Meryl Streep. Yeah, she's yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, visually she looks very Merrily, and the way she carried herself on stage and some of the roles. I mean, this was like an 18-year-old at the time, but at the same time, it was like, oh yeah, I see.
Oh yeah, I see Meryl.
Yeah. It's in
I
like
see Meryl.
style. Yeah. For
Yeah.
folks.
So
Got
that-
I
a little
see
bit of
it,
Meryl,
Meryl.
a little bit of Chloe Sevigny.
She's
Yeah.
friends with a lot of big time theater folks. Wow. Okay.
I believe it.
Um
Yeah, she was our Jackie O, and I think even part of the reason I was so engaged by the play was because of how, actually not just her, how good the whole cast was, especially for like a high school production. They were as good as the movie cast. Well, I mean, comparatively, like it was a bunch of 17-year-olds, but still.
cool. Yeah. This was the first time I watched it. I watched it with Vince. And Matt, I respect you so much. I love you. You are a dear friend to me.
You loved the movie just as much.
To me, this was as bad worse than Peter Pan.
No.
Peter Pan for me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, everyone.
You don't like Peter Pan?
It's okay.
No, Peter Pan 2003. Dislike. I do not like. It's canon here that I don't like.
It's the bar.
It's
The
the
bottom
bar.
of the barrel.
So this is now the new.
This is
I'm
Whoa.
surprised. I thought this would be
sorry.
at least a 2 thumbs up.
No, I thought-
Wow.
No, I'm so sorry, Jeanette and Anna. I do not feel the feminine rage. This is also not my favorite. This is so weird to say. I can't believe this is going to be on the internet now. This is not my favorite story about incest.
No,
It is.
not by far. No, I mean like not my
Like-
favorite.
Matt, you incest month.
But
Yeah.
so I went to Stratford to watch The Goat, also known as Who is
Who is
Sylvia,
Sylvia?
which is a show about
Oh, that's a good play.
it's about bestiality specifically, but then
Yeah.
there's an incest part, and it's just been like incest overload
Fair.
in
I
my
Go
don't-
on, go
good
watch some
play.
Dexter next.
Been an
oh my
incest fest.
god. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. But yeah, this movie was not it. It was such a hard no from Freddie
House of
Prinze
No.
Jr. to Parker Posey to the French mom to even Tori Spelling. I love Tori Spelling. And Vince brought up something interesting when we were watching it, that because is it Mark Waters? What's his name?
Mark
Mark
Waters.
Mark.
He is the producer, writer, and director. So it feels like this is like a passion project of his, which makes it a little bit even more uncomfortable for me to like feel anyway, except a hard no for it. But yeah, I'm sorry. It wasn't great, but I can't wait to discuss it, because when I dislike something, I feel like I have a lot of things to say about it. So let's go.
What's
Okay.
everyone's favorite great American play about incest? Mine is August Osage County.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one. That is a good one. If we ever did incest month, that would be my choice for like number one.
Not
With
this
no-
one.
No, August Osage County. And this
I
Actually,
think
this
that's another
might be
incest movie.
about incest.
Yeah. Yeah. Incest. Wow. So much incest.
So much incest. Well, I mean, only one incest. And it's a family
How about a
tradition.
big one?
Listen, of all the incest that you can have, sibling twincest is not the worst, I guess.
Exactly. It's like he says.
I think it's literally the worst you could have.
Really? I think it's father and daughter.
Yeah, that's
Like-
weird.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's interesting that they try to justify in the film by describing it as self-pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes. Wild. to
Does
me.
it count as infidelity? If I sleep with me, am I technically cheating on you?
The gaslighting is real in this film, and I feel
Very.
very bad for
When
poor
they're in the
Tori
womb?
Spelling.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. I identify
What?
a lot with Tori Spelling. Honestly.
You know
I
what's
loved her
funny
in this.
is that Parker Posey got an award at Sundance and Tori Spelling got a Razzie in the
I thought
same.
she was just as good as Parker
Whoa.
Posey. In the
I
movie.
thought Tori Spelling's acting was absolutely god awful, but I thought it was
Oh.
supposed to come across that way.
I thought she was.
I thought she was
great.
supposed to seem disingenuinely altruistic and freaking like I thought it was supposed to
I
be
think it
that
worked
way.
perfectly in like the world of this
Yeah,
film.
I think it works.
Yes, in the
movie.
context of the movie, I think she's really good, and that's
There's
great.
like no world
because
in
her
which you can
dad
single that
bankrolled
as,
the
like,
whole movie.
bad.
Wait, what was that, Ben?
Oh, her dad, Aaron
Oh.
Spelling, bankrolled this movie, which is kind of
Makes
amazing.
sense.
Yeah, it's a
Happy
Spelling
birthday, sweetheart.
production. Happy birthday!
Yeah, but like I'm not mad at her playing that role. Like Leslie, like I feel like Tori Spelling is the generic Pennsylvania Donut King employee.
Yeah.
Like if she had played Jackie O, I would have been angry at the
Mhm.
nepotism
Yeah, no.
role. But I think she's
She's
like,
not a Jackie, she's a Marilyn.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. She's where she belongs. So let's talk about this movie, I guess, first from the Kennedy perspective. Do we think, first off, that this movie necessarily needs the Kennedy element for it to work? Do we think the movie could work just as a twincest love story without the whole Kennedy element and without the fact that this takes place in the 80s, the fact that so much of it is tied to the twins' memories of when Kennedy was assassinated? Like, can you take the Kennedy out of House of Yes?
I don't
No.
think so.
I mean,
think it's
they
about
get off on the murder or
yeah.
the assassination.
Yeah.
I
Unless
think
you
it's
found
also
another
about the
equal-
missing father.
Yeah. That's weird. Did they ever say anything about the dad? Did they ever say anything about the dad?
At the
Well,
very
like-
end, they have the discussion about like
Yeah.
we're in the backyard, and it's like, no, he's not. He
Oh yeah. They do say he
But like
left.
kind of I think like as a I mean I think I see it as sort of a metaphor of like America post Kennedy of like everyone just goes crazy because we don't know what happened to daddy.
Mhm.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, hang
That
on.
is what. Wait, Anna,
That's
you've
pretty good.
Can I just unlock this movie for you?
Hang on, that's not bad.
What happened to Daddy?
Yeah. It's like did daddy just go away and it's all okay? Or did someone violently murder daddy?
Yeah, and I
now
think to
we don't know
that
how to
point,
cope with
it's
that.
about the conflict of people having very opposing memories that they're fully confident in about what
Yeah.
happened on the day.
It's like
Because you
something
have the
happened,
butting
but
heads
we
where
disagree
Jackie's
on
just
the-
like,
yeah.
Mama killed him, and then he's like, no, he left. It's like, no, he's buried in the backyard. No, he left, and she's confused. And Wendy McLeod, who wrote the play in one of her author's notes, or no, on her website, because I was really into this play years ago. I found her website and everything. Someone asked, like, what's the truth? Did the dad leave or is he buried? And she said, I'm not telling. But all that matters is that whoever's acting this plays their side with total conviction, and they need to believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that contextualized
Yeah.
what I think is the brilliance of this play really nicely, is that you have all these people who have potentially false narratives, but for them it is the absolute undisputable truth. And where they're butting heads is the fact that not all those things can be true. And that's where the conflict comes out of, which I do think is very Kennedy aligned when we go into the whole conspiracy element. And yeah, like you said, it's the absence of daddy and how that screws with people.
I mean, you just locked it in with Oliver Stone and Matt. You guys like that's Oliver Stone's JFK. It's kind of the
Yeah.
same basic
This
principle.
is true for me,
So-
but it's not true for you.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think that proves that it's kind of inextricable as the Kennedy element. I think you could make a play about twincest and about family dynamics and about class differences, but I think that this is what that specificity is what kind of makes it what it is.
Yeah, I think the class differences, I feel like the Kennedys are just such a great way to exemplify that, because I feel, again, not being around when they were a thing and not being totally in attune as to what that was culturally and historically, I just feel like, yeah, they presented a lifestyle that people wanted to aspire to. It's like, here, privilege, money, but at the same time, like, they're not jaded by it. It's the perfect American dream, and this is what we all want. And then you have like this movie depicting a very privileged family that has the resources and the privilege that I think a lot of lower class folks in, well, anywhere in the world would want, but at the same time, they're still reaching for more. Like, they're trying to attain the unattainable, as it were. And they also just live in this little bubble where no one says no, because it's a house of yes.
The House of Yes, baby. Can I tell you, as someone mixed positive on this movie, I liked it. But the thing I loved about it is that the idea of normalcy, and how normalcy is fantasy in this movie, or it's what they strive for. That there's a dream sequence, there's a fantasy sequence towards the end that is completely normal. You know what I mean? It's almost the inverse of what we see in any story. Or how Parker Posey's character, Jackie O, says she has normalcy coursing through her veins. You know?
Yeah.
Makes brownies and watches soap operas.
Yeah. I love that normalcy is kind of unattainable, and it's fantasy for these people.
Yeah.
For the reasons that you're describing, that.
Can I ask something? Do we think two things? I guess two things. do we think that not the whole point, but one of the things they were trying to make a point of was that everyone in this family has mental illness, not just the one that they're putting on medication?
Probably,
Like,
yeah.
obviously the mother, obviously the brother, Freddie Prinze Jr., and then this one that came back. I mean, he's got some screw loose if he's in an incestual relationship. So to that effect, they keep talking about the Kennedys across the street. Now, I don't know, I may not be right about this, but they're in McLean, Virginia, and I don't think any of the Kennedys lived there or did at that time. Do we think that, because Kennedy is a common last name, do we think when they say the Kennedys across the street, that it's just a family named the Kennedys and not the Kennedys? I kept thinking that during this whole thing. I'm like, I think those people across the street are not the Kennedys. They're just the Kennedys. Like people with that
like
last name that live there.
Or the Richardsons, yeah.
So I don't know. I kept questioning, to your point about a unreliable narrator, like what is real? Because even if the mom and the brother see it, I still don't believe it.
Yeah, and I feel like to that point, I feel like there might be an argument to be made that maybe Anthony doesn't have a mental illness struggle, but it's more circumstantial because of the people he's grown up with.
I got the impression almost that he was potentially inbred, because he asks like questions over and over again, and like he has that real like he has that real like infantilized action to him. You know, he says he's 23, but he acts like he's like 12.
Oh, but he's not. Oh, that was my favorite line delivery of his too, where she's like, "I thought you were older." Well, I am. Tell me how you lost your virginity.
Yeah.
He's just hypersexual. That's all. That's okay.
Good night, sweet prince.
I think the thing that I really I love a good twist. I love a good screwy kind of commentary on, sure, like where's daddy, the whole assassination thing. I think my thing, and maybe Vince, I won't speak for you, but we saw it together, and I think we're on the same page here. For me, it was the pacing. It felt like such a slow movie, and maybe it's because we find out the twincest like really quickly, because Jackie O is unstable, and she gives off twincest vibes like right away when he comes home with the girlfriend. That I'm like, maybe if there was just more tension building towards that, I would have been more bought in, because I was just like, okay, this is like so offensive to Jackie O. Like, what the hell? And I was just lost in the what's like just what they were trying to do with the device of this storytelling. That's all. So I think it was the pacing. It felt like a 2-hour-long movie.
Yeah.
You know what really wrecked it for me, I think, was and I did my best to prevent this from happening to you, Lisa, but I looked up the cast as we were watching the film, and I saw this log line, like a little two sentence description of the film, and it said, a woman in an incestual relationship with her brother goes on a killing spree when the brother brings a girlfriend home. So I'm waiting this whole movie for a bloodbath.
Yeah, I kind of was waiting for that, and I didn't even read that. I was like, this has...
It's just one murder.
It's one murder. They off-screen it at the very end.
And it's Titanic. We aren't sure he's, like...
Yeah.
You're not really sure, because they've done it many times before.
Yeah, that's not the movie's fault. That's my fault.
Well, no, it's the marketing's fault, because the log line led you astray.
Whoever put that on the internet.
I wonder how they describe it on Apple TV where I watched it.
But also, you have a movie about incest, and you don't see any nudity. You barely see it here.
Okay, family friendly.
Sorry, I think I would have loved this movie if I saw a little breast action.
We saw a lot of bare backs. We saw a lot of bare
backs. I wanted to see a butt. Tori Spelling's like underpants butt in her granny panties did not count. Like
it's the 80s, all right? Lycra wasn't it what it is now.
And like I'm Parker Posey, beautiful woman. That little brassiere shot did not do anything. Like, you are making a play about incest. Give us some nudity, people.
Show some courage.
Aaron Spelling was bankrolling this play, this thing. Give some money to the actors to get naked.
Wait, hang on, that's his daughter, though.
That is his daughter.
His daughter's the one that got the most naked in the whole
Actually, yeah,
freaking
that's true.
movie.
No.
Ah, that's a good
So
point.
that's my main criticism here.
When in Rome.
I mean,
Maybe
All right,
it
hold
was
on,
based
hold on.
on a play, and a
Lisa's
play
notes.
they
No
can't.
tits.
yeah.
No
No,
tits. I'm
If
just
I
saying,
ever direct the playlist, I'll put in lots of nudity for you.
or just like lingerie, like you
A
know,
Freddie Prinze Jr. butt would have been nice too. Could
yeah,
mix it up. Doesn't have to
something.
just
Why not hang dong?
Full on dong.
Or like
Yes.
a Jackie O striptease, like that would be hot. I don't know.
I want to know. Do we
Yeah.
ever know what she did to him? She shot him.
Yeah,
Right?
during their
Okay,
little their
Because she
little
says
roll.
something about. Yeah, she says something. I thought it had to do with the hand attached to the penis at birth. Whenever she was talking about
Yes.
the
Yeah.
scar, and then I was like, oh, she shot him. We're
Yeah.
just never revisiting the hand around the penis
Yeah.
thing. We're never
no, no,
we
that's-
mention it and we never go back to it.
That's just one of the mom's cute little anecdotes. Just like, oh yeah, Jackie's hand was touching Marty's penis when they came out of the womb.
She was holding his penis when they came out of the womb.
It's kind of a
Also,
great line.
If you're
honestly.
born at the same time, aren't you always identical, or no? Can you be born at the same time and be fraternal?
Also,
Yeah.
You can born at
All
the same
male,
time, be
female
fraternal. It's
twins
more to
are-
do with
Oh,
the
okay.
genes, yeah.
this is the thing. They're not identical. They're
Yeah.
fraternal. Male and female
Yeah.
twins can never
And they
be.
talk about this mirror thing, and I'm
Yeah.
like, there's no mirror. That
Yeah.
guy looks nothing like Parker Posey.
I know that was bad casting. Very bad casting.
Except he
okay.
did look like Freddie Prinze Jr. Like
Yeah,
there were
They
moments,
should have
right?
been fucking.
But they don't know if they have the same. Oh wait, but then they shouldn't.
Also, how sad that he felt left out. I mean, how beautiful would that have menage a trois been? That would have been absolutely
That's
gorgeous.
what I'm saying.
That's kind of what we were hoping for.
If the movie is gonna like wade through these
Yeah, when they were
waters,
closing
why
in on
not
him, I was
dive
like,
in?
They're gonna all three.
He's
Oh my
Mark
god! And
Waters.
then they didn't do it.
What I didn't understand is that so when they're like doing the role play, right? And he's waving as JFK.
She shoots him, which is
He shoots him, and I'm like, why don't they bring the brother in to be
As
Lee
Lee Harvey.
involved
That would kind of be
and
great.
then getting in on the action?
I've thought
Because they're
about that towards
excluding
the
him.
end.
That's the point.
Because
It's their
They,
special
the
role.
whole family knows the game. The mom knows the game. Honestly, why don't they get the mom to do it? She seems super down with everything that's happening.
That's too much for me. That's too much for me.
It's too far. It's too
Because
far.
like she knows, and she's more cool with it than the brother. So I could totally see them being like, "Hey, mom, if you want this, kind of like, hey, if I'm drinking at home, it's safer than drinking out. Like, hey,
Well,
if you
I don't
wanna
know if
keep
they
this
know
safe-
that the
I'm a
mom.
cool mom.
That was a regular mom.
Kids want anything? Condoms.
Oh my god.
That's the crossover I didn't realize I needed. I
Oh
adore
my
it.
god.
Another line I love of hers: "A mother doesn't spy, a mother pays attention."
Mhm.
So,
Great line.
so good.
I can't.
One of my favorite Parker Posey lines is, "Do they have paintings in Pennsylvania?"
Oh, it's so good. It's so quotable. I adore this film. One thing that I kind of want to dive into was, something I noticed having watched this movie on Plex, where it's free in Canada. There was one thing that was different from the version I grew up watching on VHS. Like there is a very distinct editorial difference, which kind of makes a very different movie. Well, that's being over dramatic, but the version, and I'm curious to see if everyone watched, which one everyone watched. So the version that I watched on VHS growing up, at the very last scene, when she's like, "One more time, Marty, and then you can go back to the land of the Donut King." And then they do the wavy, and then she shoots him, then it like cuts to white and you hear the shot. The VHS version had a Jackie O narration that was not present in the one I watched today. And in the narration, she's like,
Is it the
Marty never loved her, and she went away, and now Marty's where he belongs with me forever, and he's buried in the backyard next to Daddy.
Did not see that.
Whoa.
No, that was
Hang
the
on.
the one
She
I
did a
watched
murder
ended with-
suicide.
No, she
No,
just killed
he's
him and buried
buried.
him in the backyard
Yeah.
next to Daddy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so
So-
did she kill Daddy?
No, her mom. She thinks her mom did.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
So with that one, with the one I watched, it ended with the Rachel Lee Cook one,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, it
Okay,
still
so
had
everybody
that.
else.
It still had that. So over the montage
Okay.
of Tori Spelling running out of the house, that's where
Yeah.
the narration happened. And
Oh,
then
wow.
today, it just has like screams either from Leslie or maybe Jackie Onassis.
Yeah, it's a
in real life.
screaming.
And then it
Was
just
what
kind of
I heard.
silence, which I
Yeah.
found a lot.
I
Huh.
prefer it without the voiceover. I don't
Yeah.
like that as much.
Yeah, so
like
I
the way
think-
it
need
ends.
I think that both leave you questioning, but I think actually the screams are more indicative of she actually killed him. And then, so I think if the narration were there, I'd still have the unreliable narrator thing of like, I still would wonder. Like, I don't think it would have solved anything. I'd still wonder because it's her saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I preferred. Well, I was really thrown off actually because I kept on thinking, "Where's the narration?" Then I thought I was crazy, and I had to Google it. I was like, "There's no way that the movie is different. Is this? Am I Mandela effect right now?" And it turns out that yes, there are actually two different versions.
I wonder what the reasoning was, and I wonder
It's
which
just
one. I
I don't
assume
know.
your
One
version came
was-
first.
Well, my version came first. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible in the case of Clerks, when Clerks went to the film festivals, it had the original ending that features a gruesome act of murder that really comes out of nowhere and doesn't fit in with the rest of the film.
Yeah.
So when it got picked up by Miramax, they're like, you got to cut the ending. So maybe something similar happened here. Like the film did well at Sundance, and then to get wider distribution, people came in and they were like, get rid of the voiceover.
This was
I
a
don't know,
Miramax
the
movie
voiceover was
too.
still released on
Oh.
Maybe for different markets, like maybe yours
Yeah.
was a Canadian specific VHS, and this was like an American version that just became the default for digital distribution.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I think I much prefer it without it. I found it a lot more chilling, I guess, just hearing the screams and seeing her run away. And I've always appreciated the ambiguity of the ending. I think on stage, I don't think on stage they confirm if she actually kills him. I feel like it just ends on like a blackout when the gunshot would happen. Yep.
That's what I was going to ask,
I
how they
don't
handle that on the stage performance. It must just be, that's what I figured it was just a black stage because you can't, unless you drop a screen with a projector
Yeah,
on it.
no, the movie added the whole element of like showing Jackie O and Marty when they were teenagers, which actually I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts on that, whether you think that contributed anything, and specifically the last shot, because I've heard different interpretations of that.
Yeah,
last
that was really confusing.
Mhm.
What she's saying to him and how she's saying it. Because at first I was like, oh, she never wanted to do this.
But then
She was
she's
telling him to stop, but then she's smiling and she's like, stop it. Stop it.
I know she's being
you
all
know.
seductive with that
Yeah.
coyness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's definitely the reading, and this is something that some people pointed out when I showed it to my film class all those years ago, that Marty's like controlling the camera and he's closing the distance while she's saying stop. So it just makes you question like how much of a victim was Jackie back then, and then what does that say about the dynamic between them, and then how does that recontextualize what we had seen in the movie where it felt more like Marty was the one pulling away and she was like, no, let's go for it.
Well, and also the fact that she's the one who's sort of like very overtly psychologically affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's
He
just
would be the
so
abuser
neutral.
because he wouldn't be being quite as messed
Yeah.
up by it. And
Mhm.
they do make, somebody says that, oh, the Freddie Prinze Jr. brother says, well, you made her crazy, or somebody says that, like, tells him, and basically they're like, no, she wanted it, like, we're both in on it. And I do think that gets brought up, and when that scene came up, I definitely thought that. I was like, was she not crazy before? She was just obsessed with Jackie O. Like, that's not that bad.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's a relationship of him gaslighting her, and there it is.
Lisa seems to disagree.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like the way that I interpreted that last moment is that she's saying stop it, and yet throughout the entire movie, she's the one who's still coming on to him. And in that last shot, she's not saying stop it. You see her smiling. You see her happy that he's closing the distance. So I don't know. I think like saying that she's the victim here actually takes away her autonomy almost of like her making the choice of like, no, I do want to do this.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think she's a victim here. I do question like why they started that, but maybe like that's not the question, and what is actually to be examined is that it's a device for what the nation was going through when JFK was assassinated, I guess. Yeah. I'm an only child. This is the thing. Like, I don't understand this concept.
Yeah,
Oh,
same.
I don't get it.
There's 3 only children. Wait, Matt, are you an only child
Yeah.
as well?
yeah.
4 only children. Vince,
Yeah,
do
I
you
don't have a
any
sibling
siblings?
to lust for.
I have a sibling. Yes.
Do you lust for them?
Just the 2 of us.
You think that there's a thing like maternity, like when you have a child, there's a natural thing that turns on. So you assume there's a natural thing that stops you from doing stuff like that.
Yeah,
Because you're like,
I would hope
assume
so.
that's there.
Well, but there's also stories of like people who were like siblings, but like did not grow up together, did not know about each other, and like meet as adults and like date.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
there's
Have
like
total
yeah.
like romantic connection, and they have no idea that they are related to each other because one was like adopted or something.
Yep.
there was this guy who was doing like sperm donations in Denmark,
Yeah.
and
what?
he went past the point of
Oh yeah.
how many
The-
he could.
The 100,000 babies.
Yeah.
documented?
And the scientists commenting on this were talking about the phenomenon of like if there are half siblings in the same area as each other, they actually are more likely to fall in love with each other
Yeah.
than like non-sibling folks.
Similar
because-
features, similar demeanor, similar pace of life. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And,
And-
they're having trouble with it in communities in the US where, contraception's not readily available and people are living risky lifestyles. And I actually watch a series on YouTube where these 2 young, like underprivileged people were both interviewed separately by this guy and then figured out that they were both brother and sister in this one community in like downtown LA, and they have a baby. And they didn't know till she was already pregnant. And this is like going on like right now. This is like an ongoing story.
Whoa.
And so
this
they
is
moved to there's 8 states where you can legally be an incestually married couple because if there's a baby involved.
Yeah.
Huh.
And this also is like not just like for straight people. You see it a lot with lesbian and gay couples as well, where they end up like figuring out through like ancestry.com that they are actually half siblings or like first, second cousins. And they're like, holy shit, this is weird. Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Jackie O and Marty, they belong to each other.
No.
But Marty survives, and he grows. He gets a little older, and he has an 8th grader in the movie 8th Grade, and he's a very loving dad, and everybody's happy.
Is that the same guy?
Yeah, it's the same guy in 8th Grade. It's her dad. He's really good in that too.
Yeah. I personally, I think he's good in this for what the role is. Just being a very bland person that a lot of darkness, I think, comes out of.
Well, and he's a little spineless, yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel like he has moments where there are turns where he reverts back to his screwed up family self, which I really appreciate from an acting stance, like where you just see him, drinking the Kool-Aid and going back into Jackie O land and seeing his transformation from like, here I am trying to be a grounded, normal person with my fiance, have like in the car home for Thanksgiving, into now I'm piano with my sister and like we're gonna do more stuff.
Can I just say, I usually go into movies not knowing anything. Like, I don't like reading the synopsis. I don't like doing any research. I just like going in not knowing anything. I was so deeply confused because at the beginning you have real life footage of Jackie O and then young, unstable Jackie.
And you're like, I didn't know Rachel Lee Cook was. Why is she?
And I kept saying to Vince, I'm like, what are they doing? Like, this is like really bad filmmaking. Like, you should never show the real life figure and then the actor playing that real life figure. And then when it came to Parker Posey's time on screen, I was like, in the 1980s, Jackie O was a book editor. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this was the moment where I needed to read the synopsis, because for The
You
first
thought she was
2 minutes.
supposed to be Jackie O.
Yes. I was like, what is happening? Are they rewriting history?
I didn't read the synopsis. I watched the original 90s like movie TV commercial, like the one that they would show you to go like the what do they call it? A splash trailer or whatever. And that was how I got into it, which did not tell you about the incest. And the blurb on Apple TV does not either. So Vince, you need to sue those people.
Well, it was Google. It was just like a little Google search, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
but
on the
it's a movie.
Wikipedia thing. Yeah.
Needs to be a nice little surprise, even though, like I think we've said earlier, it is fairly obvious that
It happened so quick.
at least from her end, you could tell that
I
she
was gonna say I thought she was just obsessed with him. The surprise to me was that he was cool with it. At the piano,
that's
that
how
was
I
the
took
first
it
time
at
I was like,
first.
oh, it almost even took like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the Weird Family, and it almost took that turn. I was like, oh, and you start wondering how many people in the family are in on it, and you're like, oh, everyone is. Okay. That was when it got really uncomfortable for me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I got on this rewatch. I was more uncomfortable than I had been in the past with Jackie O just fully manipulating Anthony, Freddie Prinze Jr. to like go with Leslie, which is just something I didn't pay as much attention to in previous watches because I was just so intrigued by the Jackie O and Marty storyline that I didn't really pick up on or care about the other one. But yeah, the Virginia Woolf of it all, I find really engaging. Yeah.
Yeah, the real irony here is I felt so uncomfortable during House of Yes. I was actually more comfortable when Donald Sutherland was explaining that the CIA just takes out anyone who tries to help the world.
You're like,
that was more comforting to me. Yeah. Please.
That's actually funny.
Do you guys think that the director of She's All That watched the House of Yes and was like, Rachel Lee Cook?
I was wondering
Prinze
because
Jr.
I was like, wait, this is 97 and she was a star by 99, like big star. So I was like, I had to look it up and see what she had done and where it fell on her thing because I was like, wasn't she huge? Why is she playing this tiny little role?
It was like 2 years prior to She's All That, right? Like the timing would kind of line up.
Josie
Where
the
it's like,
Pussycat, She's All That is like 99, 2000.
Film too. Because I could see this movie being something that was like filmed and then like didn't come out for a year or two.
Oh, it came out in 97. It would be great to know when it was filmed.
Probably filmed, I think, around 95, I would guess, because the wiki page said that it was like bought by Miramax pretty well right away, like as soon as they screened it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I could see this being one of those movies that was like filmed in 95 and then like screened at Sundance in 96 and then didn't get a wide release until 97, something like that.
It
you know,
looked really
she looks
good.
young. Like Rachel looks young in this.
Yeah.
So Dazed and Confused was what? That was 94?
I think so.
Something like that.
93, 94. Yeah, I thought she looked younger in this than she did in that. So whoever was doing the makeup was fabulous. And then You've Got Mail is You've Got Mail this year? No, it's the next year, 98, right?
I think so, yeah.
That sounds
and
right.
she looks way older in that one. So whoever the makeup artist in this had to be amazing. Because like in You've Got Mail, she definitely looks like her.
Hey, Parker Posey or Rachel Lee Cook? Parker Posey or Rachel Lee Cook?
In You've Got Mail. Parker Posey.
Yeah, okay.
She's the wife or the girlfriend.
Yeah.
So this prefaces She's All That and Josie and the Pussycats because they're both in that too. Or Parker Posey.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Both in that movie.
Oh, she is. Oh
and
my God.
that was only a few years later.
That's right.
Yeah, I wonder if they got together on that because one remembered the other.
You never know. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I kind of had that feeling with Freddie Prinze Jr. wondering why are you in this movie, but then the timeline sort of makes sense because I think this came out the same year as I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. So he was in She's All That too. So crossovers. Yeah.
God bless the 90s.
I love this movie bringing all these people together for like subpar future work.
And then the highlight of his career was Scooby-Doo.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah.
And Monsters
The best.
Unleashed.
Monsters Unleashed.
Oh yeah.
Matt, I have
Ben's favorite movie, by the way.
Knowing
it's great.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying your favorite movie is Scooby-Doo, Ben.
Oh, that's Anna's favorite. Anna's a big Scooby-Doo fan. She is. She loves it. Matt, I was curious, knowing that this was a movie that was on your radar, the movie that really kind of like was the catalyst for this series that you're doing,
Yeah.
and that you hadn't seen it, and you said that it held up quite well, and you still find it to be a very good movie.
Mhm.
You asked us who had seen JFK sort of how it now works for us, and like the difference in sort of opinion or anything. Does the movie still kind of hold the same amount of esteem, or is it higher, or is it lower, or
Ooh,
like
good
where does it sit with
question.
you now? I'm so curious.
I definitely can see how it's dated. And I understand. I feel like if I came to this now with fresh eyes, I would still very much enjoy it. There are elements that do feel very much of their time, like specifically how they address Jackie O's mental illness and everything. But at the same time, I think that is sort of the point within how messed up this family is anyway, where they're just like, shove all the pills down her throat. The brown ones, the red ones, it doesn't matter. I think there is something,
Brown like her eyes.
yeah, exactly. Brown like her eyes. Um, yeah, I feel that the performances absolutely still hold up for me because I think that it's a perfectly cast film. I love that they retain most of the dialogue. And what I really appreciate is the theatricality of it. Because the thing that really intrigues me about movies that are adapted from plays is when they're able to retain most of the dialogue and do longer takes where you could just really see the actors digging into the scenes almost like it is a play, just in real time, going back and forth. And seeing that level of theatricality from actors that I associate more so with film and less with that style, like Parker Posey and Freddie Prinze
And
Jr.
all of them I associate with like goofier stuff
Yeah.
than this. Like this is a comedy-ish, but like it's not like Freddie Prinze Jr. is always goofy, while his character in this one is
Yeah. It's not
kind
like
of goofy. This is way more
slapstick
serious.
comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like they all understood the assignment, as the kids say. I feel like the movie has just a really coherent vision. I feel like it's all existing in the same world. And Parker Posey is definitely going over the top, but in a way that doesn't feel campy in the wrong way.
Yeah. She's
Like,
the best
It's
actor.
very
in this.
unapologetic, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like this movie doesn't pull punches, which I think is maybe why there's such a split of like some of us are like, this is the
Yeah.
bar is on the ground, and some of us love it. Like I think it's kind of designed where like probably
Hilarious.
if you like the first 10
Yeah.
minutes, you're gonna love the whole thing. If you don't, you're not gonna enjoy the next 90 minutes of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am curious, since I keep going back to the casting, I would like to know which performance did everyone find the most engaging, or who did you enjoy watching the most?
Yeah, Parker Posey was the
I feel
best
like
actor in
Anything
this whole
she's
thing.
in, I think that's the answer for me is Parker Posey. I adore her.
Yeah, I think she carries this movie in the way that role truly needs to, in the way that Hannah Cheeseman did on the Cawthron Park stage all those years ago. I can't imagine this play working with a Jackie O that just isn't up to snuff, as it were. And I've even found clips, again, because I was really into this play a long time ago. When YouTube was on the newer side, I tried to find productions of this play, and I found like a trailer from one theater company, and the Jackie O just wasn't good. And really made me realize that if you don't have exceptional actors, the dialogue can go into a place that feels disingenuous and very soap opera-y, which it
Yep.
has that vibe to it. But I do think it's written intelligently enough where if you understand the like if you put in the character work, and like Wendy said, make sure that your character knows what they believe and that is what they're willing to die by. If you do that work and come from that place, I think that's when the text works. But then if you're just kind of saying the words, it feels like softcore porn, some of the scenes.
Yeah. It also, instead of being goofy at certain points, I think it lets itself be campy, which is such a hard line to walk. And I felt like they pulled off campy in the moments where it needed to be without getting like you said, like out of element, out of the dome of what this is supposed to be in.
It strangely is like Samuel Beckett. It is very absurdist, and that's why I like the performances were fine. Like even though I'm saying it's like at the very bottom of my movie watching list, I think what works and why I can see why people love it so much is the performances, and they go there. They're not holding back on the absurdity of the situation. But I will say I don't even remember Parker Posey and You've Got Mail, and from what I do remember of her, I don't know. I guess I need to watch more of her career. I suppose I've never seen Dazed and Confused. I'm sorry, guys.
She usually plays kind of a snotty girl.
Yeah.
Like she plays a snob or a bitch, one or the other.
Yeah. So when I was watching this, I think I was relating more to Tori Spelling's character, because she was the person coming in not understanding the dynamics, and I felt as that audience member, I was able to see the movie, see the story through her eyes, and so I think she did a great job. I mean, she does. It's the ditzy blonde. You can't really go wrong in that character, and she does it well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was on Team Tori Spelling the entire time, but this is only because I was led to believe that this film would end in hand-to-hand combat between Tori Spelling and Parker Posey.
Yeah.
Good versus evil, and I did not get that. But at least she got out of there alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted a little bit of a hair-pulling cat fight moment.
Yeah, give me something.
But
yeah, but no, she doesn't descend that far into being like them.
She's from Pennsylvania, the home of Rocky Balboa. Come on.
Entire towns are related.
Barring Parker Posey, though, the standout for me was the actress who played the mom, who I've seen before. She's Canadian, I think.
Yeah.
Loved her, and I thought every line delivery was like, "Wow, chef."
She's Quebecois.
Yeah, oui.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which kind of threw me off because it's such an American ingrained story, and yet here you have this very French Canadian matriarch.
Yeah.
Like a migrant worker or something. How'd she get? I want to know her origin. How'd she end up here from Canada?
They talk a lot about how they don't know who their real dad is. So I feel like she made her way to the States. She was with a few different people. Yeah.
Oh, Kristen has a good comment about Parker Posey. Have you? Yeah. Lisa, have you seen any of the Christopher Guest mockumentaries that she's in? She's amazing in those.
Best in Show is
you gotta watch Best in Show tonight. You gotta watch Best in Show.
Isn't Best in Show that weird dog movie?
Yes.
Eugene Levy and Catherine
There's
O'Hara, right?
Okay, I tried watching that with my mother. That is not a movie to watch with a parent.
Really?
My mom got very uncomfortable.
I remember Parker Posey's character talking to a therapist about how the dog was uncomfortable that she was making love with her husband in front of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think it was that scene. My mom was like, I need to turn this off right.
I think you should introduce your mom to the House of Yes.
No, absolutely not.
Oh yeah, not like Anna told Ben to do. Right?
That was wild, Anna.
I would watch this with my mom. It's not like an explicit movie.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny.
When I saw this at my high school, my mom was with me.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't believe that a high school put this.
That's
bizarre.
insane.
Wild.
Who was the drama teacher at that time? Was Swire there?
No, that was the year before Swire started. It was Miss McIntyre, who was the naked lady in Murder in 1600 that we mentioned a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Anna, write down the year before Swire started. That's an excellent title for something, and I think we should retain it.
Year before Swire started,
Speaking of your mom,
album.
Your mom says that she never saw this DVD in your house, and you cleaned up your movies every week, and you hid it.
You're in trouble.
House of Yes from your mother.
Again, it's like Jackie O and Marty. They have different memories. My mother doesn't recall. It wasn't a DVD, it was a VHS, and she was there when I purchased it because I bought it at a video store near the cottage we rented in 2002, and we watched it as a family at the cottage with my dad, who was really into the Kennedy thing. So
do you still have the receipt?
No.
Martha, we need to know, do you remember watching this with Matt?
When we're off the air, I have to tell you about another Sears play that happened when I was in grade 9 or 10 that changed a lot of protocols and which I just want to say on the air, but House of Yes was mild compared to that.
That's wild. Amazing. Yeah.
And I will always bring it back to
Would they put on a production of Eyes Wide Shut? What the hell?
But Yeah,
That
and
would be
actually, it was beneficial having my mom there because I, at that point in my life, had no idea what the candy situation was. I was like, why is she wearing a pink pillbox hat? Why does she have a gun?
Also, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This girl said that she took blood and macaroni and stuff and smeared it on this very
And it wasn't there.
puffy thing, and there was none of it there. That was my biggest disappointment in this whole movie. I was like,
Maybe it's a new.
where is it?
Yeah, I want to believe that she got another one because that
Or
did.
she's
screw me.
right.
But she actually goes, I
Yeah.
have the suit. I
That's-
have everything. And she says it like it's
Mhm.
that one. But
I-
I don't.
I thought that was setting up the bloodbath that I was
That's what
promised.
I was like, it's going to have blood on it. And then she's going to like get more blood on it.
Yeah.
Maybe she does at the end. Oh, and actually, that's one of the things I wanted to ask was what was everyone's reading of the ending? Do we believe she actually killed Marty, or do we believe that Marty got away? Because I feel like the movie sort of leaves it ambiguous. I mean, you do see Tori Spelling leaving by herself, but
I think when they add the screams in, it means that when they get to hear them screaming, I was like, I think that.
yeah, I could also
I
read
think
that
they
though as
caught him at the very
Jackie
least.
screaming that he's gone. Like Jackie screaming that Marty's leaving her forever.
Ah,
Oh.
that's a good
Mm.
thought. Now it's even more Titanic-y.
I just assumed he was dead.
I assume he's dead as well.
I think he's dead. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take him out of his misery.
Yeah. 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 Maybe he did. Does he deserve it? Who knows? Who knows?
Well,
If you're going to go in.
go
was
in the
gonna
way
say,
you love going.
I was going to say, go while you're really excited about it. If you get one.
Go when you have no yeah. Uh-huh.
You gotta know when to hold them. Know when to fold them.
Hey, at least he died doing what he loved, getting banged by his sister.
Exactly.
Can't.
Okay. And with that, who's ready for the game?
Good
Yay!
time.
Oh yeah.
All
That's
right.
it.
1, 2, 3. Need to check that I have as many questions as I want.
What do we need? What are we doing?
You just need a piece of paper, and it is more or less one of those option 1 or option 2 situations. Not true or false, but basically. Let me just write my scorecard.
Is it Jackie O or Jackie No?
Oh my gosh, I should have done.
That's a good one.
Damn it. That would have been so good.
Jackie
Oh,
House
No.
of Yes or House of
Next
No?
time.
next time. Next time.
Maybe next time.
I have a question. My party trick is that I can name every U.S. president. Can I get a bonus point for that?
If you do it right now, sure.
Let's do it right now.
Okay. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Quincy Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk, Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland again, McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden.
Anna, that is so cool.
You're not even in
That's the
America.
only thing I can do.
Have that in your
You
brain.
win the game.
Yeah.
Anna,
At the very least, I should relinquish my title as the political correspondent on this show. Please.
Yeah, we-
Anna,
I
if you want to
like
take that off my
being able to do
hands.
things that are completely useless but fun.
okay, Anna, can you explain to us Watergate?
So Oliver Stone can explain better in Nixon. Actually, I think you guys might like Nixon because I think like Nixon is it's almost like a very like classic, like tragic narrative. I think the way that he shapes it, which is like Nixon's undoing was his own paranoia. Like he was paranoid and he thought people were coming to get him, and he was like a deeply secretive person. So he kept these tapes. And then when the Watergate break-in happened, if he hadn't been taking the tapes, no one would have thought to ask Nixon, can we listen to your tapes to prove that you didn't know this was happening? Which means they wouldn't have found out that the tape was missing. Like there's like I think it's like 17 minutes. There's like missing tape that he recorded and then removed and got rid of. And so the assumption is, well, if you took something out of these tapes that you recorded yourself in the Oval Office, clearly you did that to cover up this break-in at the it was like the Democratic like campaign thing, basically. Like if he no one else recorded all of their conversations in the White House. This was a Nixon thing because he was paranoid. If he hadn't done that, it wouldn't have been his undoing. So it's a very like, I don't know, it's like a very tragic, like sort of like classical arc to me. It's great.
Yep.
Huh.
I still like to believe the narrative put forward in Dick that Michelle Williams left an 18.5-minute message to him that she was embarrassed by and then deleted.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, my favorite thing with Nixon is that like Oliver Stone started the movie hating Nixon and then ended it kind of feeling for the guy.
Oh,
You gotta hand it
It
to
is
him.
like he's deeply evil, but also like kind of has this like tragic story to his life.
My big takeaway from Nixon week last week was I wish we had that over who we have now and like kind of in the comparable position. But there it is.
wait, you mean Biden?
No,
Or Trump. I was like,
no, not Biden. Oh God, no.
I mean, Biden's almost dead.
No. I just kept watching the Nixon movie, being like, "Oh, there's a lot of parallels here between Nixon and Trump."
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Oh,
That's
100%.
that paranoia for sure.
I wish we were back. I like grass is always greener.
Are we getting another debate?
I hope so.
I thought he can't. He got out of that.
They can't agree. Because
They need to debate if they're going to have a debate or not.
yeah.
That's the
They
next-
debate.
Isn't it a thing where she can just show up and get like the TV time all to herself if he decides not to show up?
Yes, yeah.
Probably.
If he wants to.
I would be in favor of that.
In 2020, they had separate, like, he wouldn't debate Biden at one point, so they were on different channels at the same time.
Yeah, they just had a speech to the people.
Really
think.
annoying.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see the movie about this in 30
Mhm.
years. So, at the same time, the
Oliver
Kennedy-
Stone's Trump.
exactly.
Oh, God.
He'll be played by Zac Efron. It'll be fantastic.
Amusing.
All right.
That's not
So,
bad.
for tonight's game.
Whatever. They got him to play Ted Bundy. So
I know.
So tonight's game is all based on what is true and what is not true. So it is actually, I guess, a true or false. So yeah, you can write down true or false. Why not? There we go.
Okay.
On the two different pieces of paper?
Yeah, on two different pieces. of
Okay.
paper. So this is going back to one of the earliest things to circulate via email when email was still fresh and new. At least that was how I was first introduced to this. All the parallels between Kennedy and Lincoln and their respective unalivings.
Mhm.
So, as I'm sure we've all read the list, like there's a list of, oh, here's a weird, creepy coincidence. There's like 20 of them or something. So some of them are true. Some of them are just outright lies. I'm going to give you a fact and you have to tell me if it's true or if it's false. And these are all things. Some of them fall in a gray zone. None of the ones that I'm using for this game are in that gray zone. They are things that are provably true or provably false. So here we go. The first one. Both Kennedy and Lincoln were elected in 18 and 19, respectively. 1860 and 1960. True or false? Please lock in your answers. All right. I saw a true from Ben. Jeanette?
I think that's true. Why do I feel like Kennedy was 61?
Okay. You all get a point. That
Elected.
one is
Okay.
true.
Woohoo!
Woo. Okay. Next. Both presidents were unalived on a Friday. Both presidents were unalived on a Friday. Answers, please.
One second. I'm saying false.
Okay, that one is true. So it's a point for Ben, Vince, and Lisa.
Yes.
I thought they said Kennedy was a Tuesday.
Wikipedia said it was a Friday. Hold on.
Oh, I thought they said in the movie it was a Tuesday. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. Don't listen to me.
Hold on. Friday.
I was born on a Friday.
I was born on a Tuesday.
I was born on a Friday. Yeah, Google can't tell me. So
Okay.
let's just say it was a Friday. Why not?
Okay.
Well, Tuesday is when 3 full days passed and he rose again.
Oh, that
It's a Friday, November 22nd, 1963.
Thank you, Vince. Okay, next. Both assassins, so Booth and Lee, were born in 39, in their respective 39s, 1939 and 1839.
I'm not looking it up. I'm just using a calculator.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Can I
Oh,
just because I can't do math? Okay.
All right. Answers, please. Okay, hold on. That one is false. We all get a
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
one
wow.
of them who
Eat
was
it, Vince.
I changed mine at the last second. Nice.
Booth was born in 1838. So 1 year.
Oh wait, so Lee Harvey Oswald was really only 24?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was young.
Oh, that was the one that made me say false. I was like, he was
Nope.
definitely older than that.
Wait, hang on. You're saying they were both born in 38?
No,
No, they
one
were
of them
both
was born in 38,
39.
one was born in 39.
Oh, that's pretty close.
Oh,
That
it
can count. I'm not saying I'm right, but that is weird. That's
it
really
is. It is
weird.
weird.
But-
It is weird.
Either way, John Wilkes Booth would have been older because Lincoln was assassinated a couple years after. Like,
Right.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Even though Booth was still a lot younger than I think of him as when I think back in history.
Yeah.
yeah, he would have been like 27.
Yeah, but like they had big beards back then. They looked a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next,
Yep.
both presidents' successors were named Johnson.
Anna, what did you say?
And they both had wives named Ladybird.
Oh, man.
Okay, answers, please. All right. It was true. So that is
Ah.
Lisa, Vincent, Anna.
That's Andrew Johnson, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the first one that I've known definitely.
Nicely done. Nicely done. All right. Oh, kind of to that point, both of their successors were born in 08.
Oh, what the hell?
No way. There's no way that could be true.
Hang on. This is the next question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. Answers, please.
Hold on, I'm trying to find where'd my page go? Oh, there it is.
That was true.
no.
Jeez.
No way.
Whoa, that was a
Jeez.
guess.
No
way.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
no
way.
way.
Yes, way.
I trusted
what?
you, Lisa.
Every 100 years, they feed us the same bullshit narrative. Every 100 years.
Wow.
I need to find my twin. I guess because JFK's
You're-
twin seems to be Abraham Lincoln. So
Oh,
It's very Cabin in the Woods. It
A little
sounds very
bit.
Cabin.
it's a little bit, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Sacrifices must be made, or else the big hand comes out of the
Mhm.
pit. All right. Post unaliving, Booth ran from the theater and was caught in a warehouse, but Oswald ran from a warehouse and was caught in a theater.
I know this. My friend Jessica talks about this all the time.
Answers, please. That's false.
Really?
Really?
God damn.
Booth ran into a barn, not a
Oh.
warehouse.
Oh yeah.
Oh, come on.
No, he did. He
That's
died.
What is
semantics.
a barn if not a
Hence-
warehouse for livestock?
Yeah, exactly.
We should all know this from what you call it,
Assassins?
assassination, assassins. That's it.
But Jeanette, only you and I watched Assassins.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I couldn't
true.
get through it.
And Kenny, who's actually in New York right now. We love Kenny.
I should have remembered that. Yeah. No.
Yeah. I love Assassins. My gosh, that's the other way I know about American history. Musicals and unreliable movies. Next, Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy. Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln.
There's no way. There's no way.
Is that
No way.
false?
They're common surnames.
Lincoln is not a common surname, is it?
We're talking secretaries like in his cabinet, right?
I don't know, just secretary.
Or what, like what? Someone who like worked the typewriter, or
Well, I don't think those were a
An
thing.
administrator?
they had typewriters.
Anyway,
in the...
it's false. It's false. Ben, I don't think you get the point.
Okay, good.
All the
Lincoln-
good ones are false.
It's
I
should have
like
known.
one of those. Yeah, exactly. Like
I should have known. You folded under questioning.
Lincoln had a Kennedy. Kennedy did not have a Lincoln. I think that's how it went. One of those.
yeah.
One
It
of the-
sounded like one of those things. It's like the exact same thing as like the theater and the barn and the theater. It's like,
Yeah.
Did Kennedy ever drive a Lincoln?
Ooh,
Question is,
good
Lincoln
question.
ever drive a
question.
Kennedy?
Was
No.
he in a Lincoln when he got? Yeah, I thought so. That's one of
Was
the
he?
ones. He
Wait,
was in
what?
a Lincoln. Yeah, yeah, he's in a Lincoln.
Is that true?
Yes,
or is it false?
I thought so.
I'm pretty
Anna,
sure
Anna's
that's
Only
true.
confirming
time
it, so
will
I'm
tell.
going to say
Pretty
that I
sure
would.
that's true.
I'm
This
pretty
is
sure it is too.
Too weird.
Okay. Next, both were shot in the head. Answers, please. That one is true. So that's Anna, Ben,
So
and
how'd
Lisa.
they make a death mask of him? Of Lincoln, because there's a death mask of Lincoln.
Could have gone in the back and not come out
Well,
the front.
he shot him in the back, so I don't know
Got
how
him in the hat.
Oh, it didn't do the Kennedy.
it did.
It was
Bullets
all
weren't as
contained
powerful
in the
back
hat.
It didn't. I'm a little teapot. Pour me out.
Yeah.
No, it didn't Phantom of the Opera mask Lincoln.
No.
It did for
What do
Kennedy.
you mean by death mask, Jeanette?
A death mask is a plaster mold they make of your face after you're dead.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was like their
Cool.
main way of preserving what people looked like before, especially before photography.
Yeah, many
Not
people
very
have them,
flattering.
like many famous ancient
Can I
people,
just
but
do that?
historical people.
Could I do that before I die? So
Those
I
are
can...
called life masks.
That's just called special effects makeup.
Have you guys
But
seen
if
that?
you go to the wax museum, one of the wax museums in Niagara Falls, there's a video on my channel where Alex and I are looking at life masks, and you have to guess who the celebrity is, and a lot of them are people that are still alive. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah. But do we know if Lincoln's was done after he died, or if he was?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
was
if you look at that face, he was very dead.
definitely dead. Okay.
Yeah, he was very dead.
Next, both presidents were shot in the presence of their wives. Answers, please.
The trauma.
It is true.
Oh, for some reason,
I
I thought ladies
could
weren't
not
allowed
imagine-
in the box at the theater.
Yeah, Mary was like,
I literally could never imagine. That is like the most terrifying, horrific thing ever.
Yep.
I could never.
Have you seen the Whitest Kids You Know sketch
Same.
where they're at the theater and Lincoln is just being an asshole from the booth and yelling all and heckling, and the guy, and he's just like, "I'm gonna shoot you if you don't shut up." It's really good.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah, it's a good sketch.
all right, the final question of our regular round. Both assassins were Southerners.
Okay, well. I don't wait, who shot Lincoln?
John Wilkes Booth.
That sounds like a southern name.
He also did it because he was upset about the Confederacy.
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
So.
Okay,
Oh.
it's false.
No,
Hey!
Wait,
So where was
It was
Lee
just
Harvey
some
Oswald
New
from?
Yorker, right? Just some
Booth,
bearded New Yorker.
Booth was from Maryland.
Oh, well,
That's
close enough.
considered.
That's the South.
That's
He's a-
That's the
I
South.
look. I'm
That's
from Louisiana.
Mason
I
Dixon
don't call
line.
it the South, but it is the South.
Maryland is
technically in
technically the
America.
South. It was
But
part
that,
of
like Baltimore, if he's from Baltimore, like, come on, that's closer to New York in terms of like,
It
I've
is, but
seen The
Maryland
Wire.
is
I've
considered
I've
the
seen
the
The
South.
Wire.
If you follow the Mason-Dixon line,
yeah, Mason
it's-
Dixon.
Yeah, unfortunately, Maryland is the first state of the South. I personally, coming from Louisiana, consider the South to start at South Carolina, because if you have the word North in your name, you're not in the South. But yeah, I will say, according to a textbook, Maryland is Southern.
Interesting. Everyone gets a point.
I'm glad Anna backed me up on that. I was
Yeah.
like, ugh, I don't like calling it Southern, but it is.
No, now
unfortunately.
it's not. Now it's not. But like, it's
Now it's
Textbook,
not.
It is.
it is historically considered the
Yes.
South. Now it's
Textbook
Maryland
wise.
is considered okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, for the points. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I might not have
Now I
notated.
think Maryland is like mid-Atlantic.
That's what I call this region is Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
I was so southern I called it New England when I first moved here. I didn't know.
No, I don't even think of Virginia as the
That's where I
South.
am. New England, baby.
New England.
Is there
I-
a Mid-Pacific? That's not a thing. There's no
It's kind
Mid-Pacific.
of the West Coast.
Yeah.
Is Maryland fried chicken a thing? Because every southern state has like its own
Yeah,
fried chicken joint.
here it's more about like where you get it. There's Royal Farms is the big one here.
Ah, okay, okay.
So our points are Ben has 7, Jeanette has 3, Anna has 7, Vince has 5, and
Ah.
Lisa has 8.
How am I
Hey, the American is in last place.
the most unknowledgeable Canadian?
Oh,
Not
that's
me.
not true.
I don't know much about American politics.
So we'll start with
I
Lisa.
should,
Lisa, how many
I
points do you
don't.
want to wager?
All of them.
Oh, okay. Vince, how many points do you want to wager?
I'm going all in, baby.
Anna?
I have 7. I'll do 6.
6. Okay. Jeanette?
I'll do them all 3 of them.
Ben?
1.
1. All right. This one you will have to write down your answer and it will not be
Okay.
true or false. And actually, I think this is the same bonus question I used during Assassins, the Assassin show a year and a half ago. So Jeanette, you
I
have an
will not
advantage.
remember because I don't know what I had for lunch.
Okay. Well, here it is. What play was Lincoln at?
Oh, I think I actually just know this. Hold on, if I can remember the last word of it.
What is the name of the play that Lincoln was seeing?
I have no.
My mom
If
also
it's-
has 7.
If it's a paraphrase, if it's like the words are kind of.
If the gist is there, maybe. It depends on if someone gets
I'm
it
trying to remember if
perfect.
this is a
If
freaking-
no one gets it perfect, I'll take whatever's closest. Don't look in the comments.
I'm not. I don't. I have it closed right now. I
got
know
it
this
right.
is some. This is some facsimile of the title.
I'm realizing the only reason I know the title, just without question, is because of a moment in Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser.
Oh my god! Yeah, I wish I could like actually recommend. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right, let's see our answers. We'll start with Lisa.
Sorry. It said Hamlet. It said Hamlet.
All right, one for Hamlet. Vince.
I'm. This is a little out of left field, but Pyramus and Thisbe,
What?
the classic Pyramus and Thisbe.
What is that?
That sounds
What?
like a cartoon in the 90s.
That's not a real play.
Yeah, it is. You kidding? This is one of the
Yeah, it is,
classics.
it is.
Back me up here, Matt.
It's a real play. It's
You
also
said
a
There's
fake,
a
nice
wall
dream.
between them or something.
it's a fake play within a play in Midsummer, but it's based on a real play. There's no real
Oh,
plays.
yes. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm so
But there
sorry.
are real plays of Pyramus and Thisbe. It's also
Yeah.
an episode. Anna.
Sorry, my phone froze for a second. I had to restart. I just said The Merchant of Venice. I don't know. I like
You know the
genuinely.
All right. We'll do Jeanette last because I think she might know it. Ben.
I also don't know, but I'm trying to rack my brain because I loved Bedazzled as a child, but I don't remember what was
Same here.
spoken by Elizabeth Hurley or Brendan.
No, it's
Fraser.
Francis Connor.
Oh, God.
O'Connor.
Damn. See, I just don't know. So I put A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Okay.
It's incorrect.
Jeanette.
My country cousin. It's like something. My something cousin.
My cousin Vinny.
I almost wrote my cousin Vinny. I couldn't get that out of my head.
I'll give it to Jeanette because you were the closest. It is Our American Cousin.
Oh,
Isn't that
the name of
Also
the
knows
movie?
Bedazzled.
Matt, that's the name of the movie in Canadian cinema. We had to write a scene about it, or an essay about that scene.
Oh my
Remember?
gosh, it is.
Isn't it called Our American Cousin?
I think that's called My American Cousin.
My American Cousin. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Just needed clarification,
I wonder
everybody.
if the movie Our Idiot Brother is a play on that. That's a really good movie.
I'm sure it is. I don't think anyone's ever produced Our American Cousin since the
I wonder why.
actually, well, the theater where he was assassinated. Well, it stopped being a theater for like 100 years. Then they decided let's make it a theater again to make tourism money. So it is now an operating theater. And yeah, they have a pretty active TikTok, and they addressed the question, "Are you ever going to do Our American Cousin?" And they said no.
Yeah.
And
they
the answer,
should.
yeah. Well, the answer was I
throw
think
some
partially
balls.
that it just hasn't aged well, not in any way of being inappropriate, just in it being boring. I think is part of it. And they also said we don't know what to do during the scene when
Yeah.
he got shot. Like, do we acknowledge it?
Imagine you're the president, you get assassinated, and the play you're watching is boring.
Right?
Brutal.
Kind of iconic, though.
Although, well, for the audience at the time, the play was funny, and actually, that's why the assassination happened then, because Booth pulled the trigger during the line that got the most laughs.
Oh,
Yeah.
The reviews must have been wild the day after.
Oh my god, I'm sure they were.
The
It's
movie,
very
was-
the man who knew too much.
the play, it was a bit of a yawner, but once the president got killed, I was really paying attention.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, there it is. That's Kennedy night.
wait,
Yay.
who won?
Was that?
Who
Oh,
won
Jen.
the game? No, it was the
Wait.
points?
Oh wait, no, you're right. She didn't. You
Because
won.
Ben
that.
only bet one,
Who
right?
bet?
Oh wait, no,
Who
you're
bet the
tied.
points?
Never mind, you're tied.
Tiebreaker!
You're tied because Ben. Hold on, Jeanette would have doubled.
Ben only bet. He bet all but two, right?
He bet
I
all
bet
but
one. I bet
All
one.
but
point.
one.
So you both have 6. Oh my gosh, yes, tiebreaker question. Okay, hold on. Talk amongst
Wait,
yourselves.
what if I just give it to Jeanette and I say, Jeanette, you've won, congratulations?
Kind of like
Yeah.
Ving Rhames.
Tiebreaker.
Very nice.
I'm gonna be
I
like
want
King Rhames at the Golden
tiebreaker.
Globes. So
Yeah,
they're gonna say-
tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, hold
Now
on.
you're forced
Let's
into
just do
this.
tiebreaker for fun. I like trivia.
Yeah.
Throw the paper
Yeah.
away twice. Okay, here we go.
Okay, it's gonna be a House of Yes question.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes.
How many chromosomes can you share with the person that you make up?
What color was Jackie O's hairbrush? Please write down your
Oh,
answer.
come on.
I actually don't know. I don't remember this, Jeanette.
I
Oh,
remember.
well,
Please. Let's see. Let's start with Ben's answer. Ben.
It's probably pink, but I wrote yellow.
Okay, Jeanette.
Yeah, it's
It
probably
was pink.
Yeah.
It was pink. God damn it! It was pink, and now it's gone.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So Jeanette, yay, you won.
Jeanette,
Hell
congratulations.
yeah.
Woohoo! Congratulations, American.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right. Even though
I
I
am
knew
very
the least
comfortable
about
in
American
victory.
history.
Oh my gosh.
I know about the movie. I don't know anything about my country.
That's
Well,
not-
you know sort of what play Lincoln got shot at, so that counts.
As long as it's about entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So the question I like to close out these shows with: between these two movies, what do you think they are saying about the presidency as an institution? Or what can we take from the Kennedy legacy? Since
I
these are
think
Kennedy
what these two are saying about the Kennedy presidency specifically is kind of what Anna's been saying this whole time. This whole idea of American idealism dying, and the people who were fighting for the things that seem to be on the path of good all being killed. So I think they're both trying to hearken and show you that hindsight.
Yeah.
Well
If you're
said.
good, they won't let you be president. And if you're even decent, they won't let you be president for long.
They'll kill you.
I
Well
agree.
said.
Well said.
Anarchy.
Next week, Lisa. Next week.
I can't wait for Civil War.
Yeah.
What a soundbite.
Civil War.
Can't wait for Civil War.
I have her
Unfortunately,
quoted
that's
for
what
saying
one
it.
half of the population is thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even dive into how did everyone feel when we almost witnessed a presidential assassination?
That was wild. I
That
was I was like in Stratford for that day.
I was at the Fringe Festival.
Can
yeah.
I say the most unbiased thing I could possibly say about that is
Yeah.
I don't think that we would all feel the same way we did after the Kennedy assassination.
Ooh, we would feel like that one guy in the bar at JFK that's like, good for them. He deserved to die. I don't know if I would use that language.
I don't even think the second
would.
one was
That
real.
kind of language caused Tenacious D to break up.
Yeah. Brutal.
Oh, there.
They took a shot at the president and we lost Tenacious D.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Ah,
What? Okay.
Yeah.
More context
That's so out of
I don't know any of these things.
The quick synopsis. Tell the quick synopsis, Vince. This is
One of the guys had a birthday, so they brought a cake out, and then the guy who's not Jack Black said, "Oh, I wish the guy didn't miss the day after the first attempt."
yeah.
And so then Jack Black had to walk everything back, and then
butthurt.
he broke up the band because he wants to, he wants these movie voiceover contracts to keep going, right? So
All right then.
yeah.
The second attempt on Trump's the golf course one that just happened last week, I don't buy it at all. It's my new favorite conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah, I
I
think
don't think it's real.
I'll be interested to
don't.
see how this plays in the future in terms of whether people will care enough to make a 3-hour movie about conspiracy theories
Mhm.
or not,
Good
or just
question.
gonna fizzle out. Just gonna fizzle out. But either way, I feel like that's the first presidential assassination attempt in our lifetime. I
Is
think.
it?
No,
Well, there was
no,
a Reagan one.
That was,
But
don't,
how old
don't
was
you
everyone?
guys?
'Cause Reagan was when? Like early 80s?
I was not born.
I wasn't born yet, I don't think. when-
Don't you
Yeah.
guys remember when that guy threw his own pair of shoes at George W. Bush?
That's true.
And
That's
like,
it was
if that
assassination.
hits, that's good leather. If that hits the temple at the right angle,
Okay.
he's out.
True, that's
What
true.
about that? It wasn't Nancy Pelosi. It was the other woman that got shot.
It was the Arizona.
Oh, Nancy
Representative or something?
Pelosi's husband. Someone broke into their mansion and attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Yeah, with a hammer.
But there's
Yeah.
that Arizona senator.
Yeah. What's her name?
I
Gabby,
always thought it was Nancy Pelosi. So every time I was seeing
No,
Nancy
it's Gabby
Pelosi-
something.
Yeah, Gabby something.
Gabby Gifford? Is that right? Am I making that up?
Kathy
Gabby
Lee
Gifford.
Gifford?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No.
Gabby
I-
Giffords.
Gabby
Who
Gifford.
watched the newsroom?
Vince
Or
loves
don't.
the newsroom.
Yeah, I like the newsroom. I
Vince?
watched it once upon a time.
Mer-
Yo.
Vince, what do you have on the TV screen?
Oh, this I was
That's Metal
playing.
Gear Solid.
I'm playing Metal Gear Solid 1 in 1997, the
Classic.
same year this film came out.
Nice.
Snake.
Oh.
And
Snake.
It has to do with government conspiracies and whatnot.
I'd like to
Yeah.
believe Parker Posey went home after shooting House of Yes every night and played that game.
I hope so.
All right, here we go. It's that time, everyone. Time for everyone to sign off. Tell us who you are, what you would like us to know, and closing thoughts on the movies. We will start with who's it gonna be? We'll start with Vince.
Yo, my name's Vince. I liked JFK. Didn't love House of Yes, but I gotta tell you, there was some really. I appreciated this conversation. It broadened my perspective about the film. Maybe I'll watch it on stage one day. Who knows? I'll definitely watch it if Matt directs it. I'll tell you that.
Thank you. Naked nudity.
Oh,
Thank you.
perfect. Make it happen.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Instagram. You follow me on Instagram, TikTok. Only time will tell. Vinny Ridge Media. You figure it out. See you around.
Thank you, Vince. Anna, how about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Anna Swanson. I loved both movies. One was a rewatch, so that was really fun, and House of Yes ruled, and that was a first watch, so that was really fun. So I've had a great time. My closing thoughts are there was probably a second shooter. Good night.
Okay. Good night. Jeanette.
I will concur. I concur, sir. That there was definitely more than one shooter. That said, I enjoyed both of these films very, very much. House of Yes will be in my repertoire for ages to come. I can't say JFK is a common rewatch. It's 3 hours long, but it was fantastic. So catch me here next week. Catch me on We Like Theme Parks, and check me out on Instagram at TinkerJ787.
Woot. Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I did not get through JFK. Still have never watched it and did not like House of Yes, but I appreciate our discourse here tonight. And maybe I'll watch JFK in the future, and maybe I'll watch House of Yes when I'm 50 and feel differently about it. I don't know. We'll see. You can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. Just search up my name. I should be there, Lisa Alves. And I'll see you all next week.
Anarchy.
Anarchy.
Anarchy. Anarchy. I'm Ben Gordon. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Ben Gordon. That's Gordon. I'm in the United States of America right now, which is so exciting because I'm normally in Canada. So I'm glad that I could be in the heartland of America, man, to talk
It's
about
authentic. I love
these movies that are peripherally and sometimes very much about John F. Kennedy. I'm so glad that together we could crack this mystery wrapped inside of a riddle, wrapped inside of an enigma, or whatever Joe Pesci says in JFK. I feel like we made some great observations together. It was a real house of yes, minus the twincest. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ben. And if you're watching this is my channel, please like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on the House of Yes or JFK, all of the things. Are you Team Grassy Knoll? Let us know. Join us next week. We are going to be closing out our presidential movie marathon by going into the future, I think. I don't know when this movie takes place. Next week, we're watching Civil War. I don't know much about it. I think there's a president in it, and I think there's a war that I guess is very polite because they say it's civil. So join us then. My name is Matt, 2 degrees, teacup for one out. How do you end this?